requirements and by local declaration of emergency, this meeting will be held virtually. The public may participate in the meeting, public hearing through Zoom access by computer and smartphone. A link will be posted at genoa.org. Please email info@genoa.org or call 810-227-5225 if there are any questions. If we could have a roll call for our members, please.
Mortensen here, Genoa Township.
I usually call it Ledford.
Yep, please.
Ledford.
Genoa Township, Jean Ledford.
Croft.
Genoa Township, Terry Croft.
Hunt.
Robin Hunt, Genoa Township.
Lowe.
Diana Lowe, Genoa Township.
Mortensen.
Jim Mortensen, Genoa Township.
Scolaris, Genoa Township. Rogers.
Bill Rogers, Genoa Township.
Now I don't have no line.
All righty, let's, if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Through the flag, United States.
America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. We are moving down to the call to the public. The public comment will be limited to 2 minutes per person. This is for items that are not on the agenda. When you come to an agenda item and you wish to speak, I believe one of the methods is you can raise your hand and they will acknowledge you so that you can speak to the board. I'm going to hold for a few minutes in case there is anybody that wishes to speak on something that is, again, not on the agenda.
We do have a caller, Kelly, here, if you guys are ready to take her.
Go ahead.
Okay, Kelly, you can unmute yourself and go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. We live on Kellogg Road across from the Chaldean camp. I don't know if you need the exact address, but I'll try to keep this quick here. I just wanted to start out in prayer in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. I can say my own prayer. For those of you who want to join in, feel free. Thank you, dear Lord, for bringing us together to freely assemble, to speak and share our ideas, opinions, and the chapel plans. We thank you for our freedoms, our Constitution and Bill of Rights, and we pray for your guidance this evening in carrying out your will. Through Jesus Christ our Lord, amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Basically, I'd just like to start off by saying I listened periodically.
Oops, I think we lost her.
We lost her. Kelly?
Provide to you. This isn't going to be some loud concert venue. The goal of the St. Padre Pio Chapel will provide a holy place of adoration, quiet, and meditation in unity with Jesus Christ. So essentially, we are all in the same boat with the same goals of desiring peace and quiet. And the second thing I'd like to point out, in this past year and a half with everything that has happened, I feel God is calling all of us to turn back to him and prioritize him in our lives. We're living in times where we need God more than ever. So to give the neighbors a different perspective, a religious perspective, perhaps one that will shed some light on the darkness in our times, this chapel will have Jesus in it. He is the light of the world, and he is inviting each and every one of us, as well as the neighbors, to come and pray with him. And I found a verse in the Bible I'd like to share with you that pertains to the building of this chapel. It is from Ephesians chapter 2, verse 19 to 22. Quote, "Now therefore you are no longer strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and members of the household of God, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom the whole building being fitted together grows into a holy temple in the Lord, in whom also you are being built together for a dwelling place of God in the Spirit." End of quote. So in my opinion, it is a true divine gift from God to have a chapel built in which you pray and seek solitude with Jesus Christ. What greater blessing is there in our lives, in our short lives, to be able to have this wonderful freedom, to be able to practice our religion and spend time with God, most importantly. Too much, unfortunately, is taken for granted in this country. And I do believe that religion is one of our freedoms that is taken for granted. Throughout my career, and I'll keep this brief as well, I've encountered and worked with so many World War II veterans and Holocaust survivors who unfortunately experienced the horrors of fascism and communism during the war. And in taking a step back and just observing the awful reality that history is repeating itself in our times, and the threat of communism is not only in the world, but also it's being threatened in our country every day. Our freedoms have been threatened on almost a daily basis. It would just be very reassuring to know that when times get tougher and the days are darker, that we will all have Jesus Christ, and especially those neighbors, will have Jesus Christ in their neighborhood to pray with and to spend time with as well. I'm beyond grateful that we have a Catholic church across the road from us, because God forbid, if I can't drive to a church, I'm so grateful that I'll be able to walk to one, and to be able to spend time with Jesus, at my own will. So I'm just fully supportive of this chapel being built. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful blessing. It's a true gift from God, and I fully support it. And just a quick message to Jerry. I actually met a woman who works for Church Militant in Ferndale, and she knows St. Padre Pio's cousin, who's in a wheelchair. She's in her 80s and she lives in New York, and she keeps in contact with her. And she just I met this woman a couple weeks ago, not the cousin, but of course the woman who knows St. Padre Pio's cousin. And you've got prayers rolling your way from New York too, as well as Church Militant in Ferndale. They're all praying for this chapel to be built. And what a special gift that St. Padre Pio's cousin is literally praying for us as well. So you've got New Yorkers praying for you. And I'll end this.
Kelly, if I can stop you just for a moment, this is the admin. I just want to check with you, Bill. This is on agenda issue. Do you want to hold it?
And I was going to remind everybody that, let Kelly finish here, but this is only for items not on the agenda. So any of those that are going to speak in regard to item number 7, we will need you to hold till then, but I'll let Kelly finish. And then again, we'll remind everyone, these are for items not on the agenda at this current call to the public.
Okay, and just a reminder too, we have a 2-minute limit on the call to the public, so I'll let you deal with that too, Bill, okay?
I didn't have the starting time, so
okay.
I don't have my flash card.
We're probably there, but okay.
Thank you. Go ahead, Kelly, you can finish up.
Okay, I apologize because we kind of signed in late, so we missed that little detail of this not being on the agenda. Sorry about that. But anyway.
Oop.
That's the second time it keeps falling out.
You just cut out, Kelly. We're not sure what happened there.
To have a church in your neighborhood, and that's all. I'll conclude with that.
Very good. Thank you very much. And again, reminder to all that are on is that this call to the public currently is strictly for items not on the agenda. So I would appreciate when an item comes up on the agenda that you wish to speak to, you can raise your hand and then our technicians will be able to assist in getting you in front of the board. Let us, is there anyone else, Matt or Luke?
Yeah, so I've got a Steve Grono with his hand up right now. I'm going to go ahead and allow him to talk here.
All righty.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I may have prematurely raised my hand. I was going to speak at the call to the public for the project for Padre Pio's property down the street from me. Is this the right time, or should I wait?
Wait, please.
Okay, thank you. I'll lower my hand.
All righty.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
Can you tell me, Spence?
Anyone else?
That is all that have raised their hand at this moment.
All righty. Then let us move to our consent agenda, items 1 and 2.
Yeah, I would like
Approval.
I would like,
support for discussion, please.
I would like the minutes moved to the regular.
You're coming in and out. I'm not sure what you said, Diana.
I think Diana's looking to move all of the minutes. I was going to request that the March 15th minutes be moved. And I was going to recommend, if the board wishes, we already do have item 12, which is discussion regarding the minutes, if we want to move them all down there, possibly.
I only had corrections for the March 15th and the April 5th.
Then would you accept the suggestion from Robin in order to move then item number 2 to add it to item number 12, which is a discussion of minutes?
Yes, thank you.
So we do have now motion and support to move item 2 to number 12, or we'll call it 12A, whatever your pleasure. And then the consent agenda essentially is the payment of the bills for April 5, 19, and May 3rd. That is the motion and support. Any further discussion? Are there any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes by unanimous support. You got, I know that's not my microphone. Okay, so number 2 is now back with number 12.
I got the volume now.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
before we proceed, you've been indicating that those wishing to speak should hold their comments to 2 minutes. The screen that comes up
Says
providing
3
the
minutes.
That's 3.
It says 3. I just noticed that too. Normally it is 2 minutes on the agenda, but the screen is showing 3.
I'm
Just
changing
needed-
it right now.
By the
So,
way, I need a timer.
should it be 2 minutes or 3 minutes?
The
I'll-
agenda calls for 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay, I'll fix it.
Okay. And I need some assistance there with somebody that can time this just in the event. So let me know. Okay, let's move on to the regular agenda, items 3 through 12, plus correspondence discussion.
Low move,
We have a motion by Lowe
Ledford support.
and support by Ledford.
Just a second. Yes, I'd like to amend agenda item number 7. I'm sorry, number 6.
Okay,
I would like it to read instead, request for approval to allow the payment for the criminal defense of the clerk with regard to Livingston County Board of Canvassers review of absent voter county board number 2, November 9th, 2020, with the provision that the clerk will pay the fee out of pocket And if it is determined that she is not guilty or the charges are dismissed, the board will provide reimbursement.
Unlimited or to a dollar amount?
Up to $5,000.
Okay. That is, if accepted, a friendly amendment. And I believe the motion was by Lowe.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
support by Ledford. Are you comfortable with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. If the charges are dismissed or not guilty. I'm sorry. I didn't say it right.
Basically dismissed and or
Not guilty. Thank you.
everybody understand the modification?
Yes.
Okay, because with all that extra language, when we get there, but we now have amended number 6. We have the motion support with that amendment for the regular agenda. Any further discussion? Are there any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes by unanimous support. We now have an agenda. Let's move.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I do have a timer, a kitchen timer. I can set it for 2 minutes. It will ring at the end of the 2 minutes.
all righty. How far do you have to travel to turn the darn thing off?
It's right here in front of me.
Beautiful. So for anyone calling in for that 2-minute window, when you hear the ding, unfortunately, we don't have the forewarning of like 15 seconds, but we will do that. And I thank you for that. And everybody,
Okay.
we should be able to hear it. All righty, let's move on to item number 3. This is a request from the Township Supervisor for Resolution 210503A, declaring a state of emergency in Genoa Charter Township to allow virtual meetings to comply with the Open Meetings Act. Now, as all of you may be aware, we have reached out to larger venues. We have attempted to have a couple of meetings. This is what we affectionately, boringly call a tool in the toolbox. We hope that we will always be able to have in-person meetings, but due to needing to comply with the COVID rules and regulations, there are not too many places that we can do this, and we still need to operate the township and make sure that we're doing things for our constituents and for people that wish to locate here. So that's really the reason for this. So I'm looking for a motion support. This would take this by law through the December 31st, and then who knows what the state is going to do next.
Mortensen, move approval.
Low support for discussion.
Okay, we have a motion support discussion.
The clerk certificate on the second page is incorrect. It said that it was adopted at the board meeting on April 19th, and that didn't happen.
True.
So if we could just correct that.
Okay, so for the May 3rd date instead of April 19th.
Yes, and it didn't happen at a board meeting, so thank you.
I think it was on the agenda, was it, and we never got to vote on
Right.
Yeah, we didn't get to vote on anything.
it. So true.
Thank you.
And so that would be a friendly amendment?
Yeah.
Very good. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Yes, Ledford,
Aye.
Croft,
Aye.
Hunt,
Aye.
Lowe,
Aye.
Mortensen,
Aye.
Scaleras, aye. Rogers?
Aye. Motion carries.
You don't have to write that down.
Next, item number 4. This is the request for approval of an engineering design proposal from Tetra Tech for the road and storm sewer improvements on Kellogg Road in the amount of $22,000. Is there a motion?
Low moves approval.
Mortensen,
I was reading Mr. Mortensen's lips. It looked like he started out saying, "I support."
Mortensen support.
Thank you. Gotta love technology sometimes. So we have a motion to support. Discussion. Are there any objections? Hearing none, motion passes by unanimous support. Item number 5. This is the request for approval of an engineering design proposal from Tetra Tech for the installation of a turn lane at the Township Hall in the amount of $4,000.
Move approval.
Have a motion. Is there support?
Lightford supports.
And we have a support. Any discussion? Are there any objections? Hearing none, motion passes by unanimous support. Item number 6. And I didn't get all the notes, but this is a request for the approval to allow for payment for the criminal defense of the clerk with regard to Livingston County Board of Canvassers review of absent voter counting board November 2 on November 9th, 2020. And the clerk added notation there in regard to if dismissed or not guilty, that would be covered.
Yes, did anyone want me to explain the documents that I've included in the board packet? Or are they clear?
Any comments, discussion?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. I'm very troubled by this. I know there's a memo in the board packet that said I support these, the payment. However, unfortunately, at that time, I had little to no information. Unfortunately, we've since learned what we've learned strictly through the media and through the FOIA that was requested. And I feel not only did the clerk not let this board know or the administrative committee know anything that was going on, I think she tried to mislead us as to what was going on. There's a memo that was given to the board in November that said that the precinct tabulations were perfect. Then she's quoted in a police investigation saying, "Oh my God, it's totally my fault. I told them to use them." And then today there's a memo in this board packet that says I was not aware that they placed the ballots in a canvas bag. I find this all disappointing and inappropriate. I think this is a very serious matter that this board should have been aware of prior to it coming out in the media. And I don't feel we should use taxpayer money to pay to cover the expenses that are incurred by self-created problems.
I'd like to answer that.
Please do.
I've been clerk here for 36 years. And I've never had a problem with elections other than maybe 1 or 2 precincts being out of balance. One usually has to do with the tabulators. I am not guilty of this charge. If I am found guilty by the courts, then yes, make me pay. But if I am found not guilty, And I'm listening to my lawyers. My lawyers are telling me not to comment about anything. And I don't know what choices I have. I can stand up here and tell you exactly what happened. I don't think that would be to my benefit. I need to protect myself. I've got 36 years here in this township with no bad record. I don't know what to say. And I know that we already had an administrative committee meeting this morning, and 2 of our board members who are sitting at this desk right now already indicated to me that they are not in favor of paying for this. So there's not reason for me to ask. But if I'm determined not guilty and I'm paying for this, and I'm the clerk of the township, and the responsibility stands with me. I'm here for the Democratic Party. I'm here for the Republican Party. I'm the duly elected clerk of this township, and I deserve to at least be heard in a court of law. I do remember many years ago that we did pay for sexual assault. Sexual harassment in defense of someone who worked in our office. And it's just a mystery to me what's going on. And I would appreciate your at least acknowledging, if I'm determined not guilty, that you would reimburse me. I don't think that's too smart.
Diana, you had a comment?
I have a question. Would this be considered a donation?
Donation?
Yeah, would this be considered a donation? Have we ever done this before?
I don't know that it's ever been done in Livingston County since I've been here. I've never had this problem.
Well, I looked into this. We have the right to do whatever we want here, pretty much. I'm on this feeling. In non-criminal matters, if people get sued individually or collectively, typically I would like to believe that the township would defend us. And we've had that situation in the fire authority, and the fire authority defended us in a very expensive lawsuit. So, and I would like that to continue. Now, a criminal matter is another matter. But in my mind, if Polly is acquitted or the charges are dropped, in my mind, it never happened. And I would be supportive of paying up to $5,000 in actual attorney fees if she is acquitted or the charges are dropped.
Thank you, Jim.
Mr. Supervisor, can I just respond to Ms. Lowe's question?
I was going to ask you that. You beat me to the punch. So fire away, Mr. Sewers.
If the board decides to reimburse Ms. Scaleras, it would not be considered a donation. There is a statute specifically that says the board can decide and reimburse somebody for attorney fees involved in a criminal matter that arises out of the person's performance of their public duties. Now, with that said, I would also like to suggest that if there is a vote on a motion, that Ms. Scaleras needs to recuse herself from that vote.
Thank you.
I guess I'd like to add, I would prefer to revisit this after the hearing then, so that we can find out exactly what happened, rather than, I mean, I'm afraid there's information we still don't know out there. So once we have the whole case and the results, then vote on the decision.
So you'd feel better if we tabled it?
That could be an option.
I agree with Rob.
Table until after the hearing.
Yeah, I agree with Robin.
Anyone else? Is there a motion one way or the other.
Well, I'm gonna make the motion. I was thinking about this afternoon, so I'm gonna make a motion and so you want to vote. I move to pay Clerk Scolaris's actual attorney fees not to exceed $5,000 if she is acquitted or charges are dropped related to the present criminal charges related to the November 2020 general election.
Is there support for that?
I'll support that. Low support.
Okay, we have a motion support. Any further discussion? Going to ask for a roll call vote, please.
Ledford,
No.
Croft,
No.
Hunt,
No.
Lowe,
Yes.
Mortensen,
Yes,
Rogers.
No. Motion fails 4-2-2.
Joe Seward, I'd like to ask you if there can be another motion to table, or is that the final decision?
Oh, I believe the board, you could make another motion. Absolutely.
I'm prepared to make a motion.
I'll support
I
that
would
motion.
move that we table the request until after the hearing is complete. And we can consider at that time.
I support that motion.
So table until after the results, so to speak.
Correct.
So there is a motion and support to table until after the results of the court case. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Ledford,
Aye.
Croft,
Aye.
Hunt,
Aye.
Lowe,
Aye.
Mortensen,
aye.
Rogers.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Well, item number 6 is still after the court case is solved. All righty. Let us move on to item number 7. This is the consideration of a special use application, environmental impact assessment, and site plan for a proposed 6,090 square foot church with accessory outdoor uses, including grotto and Stations of the Cross. The property in question is located at 3280 Chosin Road on the west side of Chosin Road, south of Crooked Lake Road. The request is petitioned by Catholic Healthcare International. We'll have 3 items to vote on: the disposition of special use application, the disposition of environmental impact assessment, and the disposition of the site plan. So in regard to item A, which is the disposition of the special use application, I'm looking for a motion and support. I will tell you folks that what we're going to do is first seek if the Catholic Healthcare International wishes to present a case. It is also, we received a document that many of the folks in regard to this particular project are represented by a Mr. Justin Sprague, Community Image Builders Planner. And if he's speaking for many people, I'd like him to go second. And then the trustees. And then finally, the other calls, which we will utilize the timer. So we're going to give a little bit more time, obviously, to CHI and to Justin Sprague to put forth their cases. So I'm looking for a motion support for A.
All right, Scott,
Do I hear a motion?
What? We shouldn't be doing a motion as of yet.
Great.
We're just,
Motion made so you can discuss. Well, then let's go straight to then, if you don't feel comfortable, let's go to CHI.
yes, Scott Tuesday, I'm here with Boston Engineering. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. So my name is Scott Tuesday with Boston Engineering, located at 3121 East Grand River Avenue in Howell, Michigan. I'm joined here with Jerry Palazzolo, Father Tim, and Ann O'Reilly of Catholic Healthcare International. And also joining us on separate screens are the architect, Mary Swanson, and Dr. George Mychascu, which both of those will have something to say at the end of me and Jerry's talk right now. So as Bill mentioned, it's a 40-acre site at 3280 Chilson Road on the west side of the road, just south of Crooked Lake. It's currently zoned country estate. And just to kind of talk briefly about the existing topography, although I feel like a lot of you are very familiar with the site, it has rolling topography. There are large portions of the site that is wooded. There are wetlands located on the west side of the site near the wetlands, near the railroad track. And there are some open areas of tall grass, brush, meadow areas. So to kind of get into what we are proposing here is it's a little over 6,000 square foot chapel with some complementing uses, Stations of the Cross, a mural wall, a statue, and there's some trails meandering through the woods. So really the idea is to envision is to preserve the natural beauty of this site in order to provide a place for quiet prayer. And the way the site is laid out shows that that's the intent. So I don't know if we have the ability to pull up a plan, or if you have the plans in front of you, specifically the site plan. The two areas that are primarily open on the site are right near Chilson Road, and then about 600 to 700 feet from Chilson Road. We're utilizing that first area for the primary parking, and then that second open area for the chapel. In doing so, we're able to essentially avoid almost all of the tagged trees on the site. And I believe at least two of the tagged trees, if not the three that are being removed, are due to the location of the entry drive, in which case we had to locate it where it is to meet the road commission site distance requirements. So preservation is at the forefront of the layout of this site. And again, it's a site of peaceful prayer. So we have the trails, we have the Stations of the Cross. They're utilizing and highlighting the nature and the beauty of this site, which we believe is in direct conformance with what the township is. The township is a beautiful area, and we are highlighting that on this site. So in order to go one step further and mimic the natural, I guess have a development that is cohesive with the natural features, we want to work with the elevation of the site as best we can. We want to minimize the amount of grading that's happening in order to facilitate the construction of the parking lot and access road, but also to mimic the existing stormwater conditions. Just very briefly, the stormwater drains to a low spot near Chilson Road, and it's not a large area, and it will continue to be that same area. So we don't want to send additional stormwater to select areas other than what's created by paving the parking lot and necessary access roads. We have another little bioswale that promotes infiltration at the rear of the chapel. Again, this is a natural drainage path that stormwater travels to. Again, the overall picture is to mimic what the site currently does. And we're trying to do that with stormwater as well, not just with the natural features like trees and vegetation. So just briefly want to get into maybe a couple of the details of the components of the site. So the chapel. The chapel is, we've kind of painted a few different visions and try to outline the best we can what we think that the mass times would be used for. So I think these are ambitious, so that way we would be covered, because we don't ultimately know if we can even get to a mass every day of the week, which is indicated as the desire for the long-term plan. So kind of starting at the beginning, in the immediate future, we would intend that there be about 1 mass per week. Over time, as awareness is brought to the site, and if a mass time fills up, it'd be indicated that maybe it's time to open up to 2 or 3 masses per week. And that's indicated, I believe we called it our short-term vision for the use of the chapel. And then ultimately, again, the long-term use of the chapel, as much as 7 times per week. So that's a mass, 1 mass per day. And again, that's kind of the cap of what we see would be able to, the site would be able to achieve. So with that being said, we've kind of outlined all that in a general operations document that should be provided in that township board packet. So you can certainly refer to that. It outlines all of what I just said. Additionally, talking about security, since security was kind of brought up, since there's not a permanent resident on the site, we do have a local contact that will be in charge of security. And additionally, we have lights on the site. So in times where it's transitioning to dark, so around dawn and dusk, the lights will be on to facilitate people moving into and out of the site safely. And then finally, there will be some lights on the building just for security purposes. So kind of getting deeper into the lighting, we have as minimal lighting as possible. We don't want to illuminate the site more than needed, and we don't want the lights to be on more than they need to be. As is indicated in the Township Consultant's Planner's Letter, we do meet the lighting requirements as set forth in the ordinance. And then events. There's been a lot of talk about events, and again, we've outlined in the general operations document that there's anticipated 2 events for this site with the dates shown in that general operations document. As discussed with the Planning Commission, the way we could help facilitate these events and help control the amount of people coming in, obviously we're limited to the number of parking spaces we have on the site. There has already been interest in the ability to set up a shuttle service or some volunteers to move people onto the site to avoid extra cars, as well as the ability to use online platforms to gauge public interest and to require essentially tickets to reserve a spot for yourself. So again, that way we'd be able to gauge whether or not a second, so a staged event can happen, so more people can attend at just staggering times, or whether or not it has to be held at a larger venue at a local parish. So the last thing I kind of want to talk about before I pass it off is some of the public concern. One of the main things is traffic. Another is the potential for additional uses occurring on the site, specifically as it pertains to medical uses, hospitals, medical school, etc. So from a civil engineering standpoint, I just want to bring up the fact that, this site, number one, aside from not being zoned, not even by special use to accept a hospital, the site really can't facilitate, it can't hold those uses given where it's at. And primarily because there is no sewer or water servicing this site. And there's no intent for sewer or water to service this site. And we don't need it because that is not the intent. Again, we're just going with a well and septic for this chapel, and that's all that's needed for this use. So the infrastructure that's existing can't support the use of a hospital or medical school or anything of the like, let alone the logistical hurdles of any type of zoning or special use issue. So to kind of further that, I'd like to pass it off to Jerry Palazzolo of Catholic Healthcare International to make a few statements as he had made for the Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you, members of the board. There's been a lot of misunderstanding, I think, about what our plans are, and a lot of discussion among the public and social media, particularly, about who we are, what we're doing, and frankly, our deception in our presentation. And we would just, ask, number one, that you evaluate us based on the merits of our application, because that is what we are truly doing. There is a lot of thought that we are a very large international healthcare company, multi-millions of dollars. That is not true, and I don't know where people got that impression that that was the case. There is a very large, probably the #2 company in the country called Catholic Health Initiatives. And maybe they're confusing us with them, I don't know. But we are not that, and we do not have deep pockets in what we're doing. We truly are here in this location trying to develop a quiet prayer campus that will support spiritually the other components of our vision that we have in developing a hospital. So we have written a statement that we posted online several months ago, and I'd like to read it again just to clarify those issues for everyone. Catholic Healthcare International is pleased to clearly state the vision of the Chilson Road Prayer Campus, how it fits into the overall mission, and to clear up the understandable confusion surrounding the project. While the hospital, medical school, and clinics are still part of the overall mission of CHI, it is not our intention, nor would it be physically possible, to build these facilities on the Chilson Road campus. Conscious of and respective of the local residents, the Chilson Road campus will be only dedicated to prayer as a peaceful and pastoral site of pilgrimage. The prayers from the Chilson Road site will support the mission of CHI as it develops in other areas around the country as a beacon of light in healthcare delivery. Each phase of the mission will be implemented as partners and collaborators come together for that particular component of the mission. The Chilson Road Prayer Campus property was donated to CHI by the Diocese of Lansing. This land was originally intended to build a parish and a school because it is listed as an acceptable use for this zoning. Now, CHI will preserve the natural beauty of this land to provide a peaceful spiritual center. The prayers of the faithful from this tranquil setting will drive the entire CHI vision. Padre Pio had a real strong belief in the power of prayer. He built an international prayer network. 3,500 of them exist right now, formally chartered around the world to pray in support of the hospital he has over in Italy and the work that we're doing to replicate. Prayer is essential, and that's why we're doing this. We have our own, actually, international Eucharistic adoration program. People around the world are praying for us. This is absolutely key to our mission. The Terry Schiavo Home for the Brain Injured Unit will be housed in a world-class hospital funded by donations to care for the most vulnerable who are suffering from brain injury. The Home for the Brain Injured will not be on the Chilson Road Prayer Campus. It can't be there. I mean, no way. It has to be in a really high-powered hospital. The Home for the Relief of Suffering Hospital will replicate St. Pio's Hospital in Italy, the Casa Sieva della Sofferenza. This hospital will not be on the Chilson Road Prayer Campus for all the reasons that Scott had enumerated. The School for the Relief of Suffering Medical School will be a faithfully Catholic medical school. The medical school will not be located on the Chilson Road campus. And we will have the opportunity just very shortly to have the physician who is facilitating that for us explain to you exactly why it can't be on that campus to be able to fulfill the model that we want it to be. But he'll explain that later, Dr. Majewski. Other medical clinics and Foundation for Public Policy are both long-term goals. The clinics and foundation will not be located on the Chilson Road Prayer Campus. The mission of CHI is huge, but as the doctor who helped St. Padre Pio open the Italian hospital said, it would make us tremble with awe if it was not inspired by God who is above all love. Again, I just, I know that people don't know us, the public don't know us, they have feelings, personal feelings, and things have gotten very personal on social media, which is really a shame. But these really are our intentions. This is a prayer campus. It is meant to be a quiet prayerful, serene campus, a place of peaceful. And we have tried to do everything we can to accommodate the requirements of the township and to make it so that it would be acceptable for people, because we want to be good neighbors and we want our neighbors to enjoy having us be a part of the prayer surrounding us. Pray for them, and we have been praying for them. So those are my points. Now, Mary Swanson, who is from Swanson Design, she is our architect. She has to say a few words also about the chapel that she has helped us so nicely be able to compose and put together. Mary?
Good evening. I'm Mary Swanson. I'm an architect. I've been working over 40 years with restaurants and churches and businesses. A lot of churches the last 25 years. Padre Pio Group is on a spiritual journey. And as a spiritual journey, its makeup is not the same as a business plan or a business project. All businesses have to have all their ducks in a row so they can get financing. And this is not that. This is a spiritual journey. They have a lot of enthusiasm. They're very excited about this project because they feel like this is what God wants them to do. They've invited you all to come along. If you're not comfortable, they're not making you come along, but you're invited to come along. As a spiritual journey, they know the big picture of what they want and where they're going to end up. They don't know how long it's going to take. They don't know if it's a couple years, if it's 20 years, if it's 50 years. They're not sure where the Spirit will lead them. They are sure that wherever it leads them, it's the right thing to do. And additionally, the way they get their money is sharing their spiritual journey with others, so they get donations. So in the beginning, I've known them since February 2020. They have a lot of excitement. They're talking about a lot of different things. And when I first talked to them, it might have all been in one place, but it can't fit there. They understand that now. They didn't understand that when they first started, and they weren't lying in the beginning, and there's not a hidden agenda. They don't know where this journey is going to finally take them completely. Are they working towards it? Are they trying to figure it out and make it as clear as humanly possible? Yes, they are doing that. Are they sometimes confusing to the people who aren't on the same path with them? Most certainly, but they are not lying. It's genuinely a journey. And about a special use permit. I used to be on our planning commission here in DeWitt. They're submitting this chapel. If in the future they want to add anything to the site, they're going to have to come back and amend the special use permit. And if they have not been a good neighbor, which I suspect they're going to be a wonderful neighbor, then you just turn them down. You need to focus on what they're doing right this minute and not feel like they're lying to you and move forward. They are 600 plus feet off the road. I don't think the majority of the township is going to know they're there unless they notice the parking lot. And again, all their money comes from fundraising. So the fact that they spread their good news to others is to help facilitate getting the funding and also to figure out how the Holy Spirit is working on this entire project. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mary. And Mary made a point, probably better than I made. This is a journey in faith. It's a walk. We signed the collaboration agreement with Padre Pio's Hospital over in Italy in 2009. We have been discerning for the past 12 years how that would manifest itself, where it would take it, and it's taken us that long. People who don't understand the spiritual realm, and when you really do throw it out to the Holy Spirit and you say, guide us, and we're gonna wait for you to open the doors. That's how we've gone. And he's guided us, and it's worked out very, very well, and we are very excited about it. There are also, again, we cannot put all these other services on this campus, and this is just a prayer campus. There are people are asking us, well, where are you going to put the hospital? Where are you going to put the medical school? Certain of those things we have some idea about, and certain of those we have less of an idea about, but we can't make that public even at this point if we want to. But we can tell you for sure, it will not be on Chilson Road. Now, we have Dr. George Machescu, who is on our team, and I let George introduce himself, but George found us a while back. Dr. Machescu has started up 4 medical schools, mission-oriented medical schools, but not Catholic. One's done to the minority, the underserved, those in the Southwest or close to the border, migrants, those types of things. He started up from scratch. He is an expert in starting up medical schools. George found us when he found out what we were doing, and he said, I've always felt like I've had a calling to implement a fully faithful Catholic medical school. And so he read about what we were doing. He came to us. And again, this is how the Holy Spirit works. Just like he brought Mary to us and Father Tim and Ann, he brought Dr. Machowski to us to be able to accomplish this because we don't have the internal expertise, but he does. And we teamed up together, and Dr. Machowski now is guiding us, and he is a very, his credentials are incredible, and I'll let him introduce those to you if he likes. But what I really wanted him to do was to explain to you our model for the medical school and why, according to the model that we've discerned, it couldn't be on this campus because it doesn't fit our model. Even if we had the ability to have the infrastructure to do it, we don't want it. It won't fit our model. So George, could you say a few words on that, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board. Thank you for your attention and time this evening. Mr. Palazzolo asked me to just briefly address any concerns or questions you have about CHI's proposed medical school. I am a pediatric cardiac anesthesiologist by training, currently director of anesthesia at LSU Shreveport's Trauma Center. I also develop medical schools and have developed 4 medical schools in the United States in the last 6 years. In our model, the medical school resides on the campus of a large research university. Medical schools are very large, complicated enterprises that are highly regulated both by state and federal regulators, the U.S. Department of Education, and in our case, the Commission on Osteopathic College Accreditation. So the development process for a medical school is a very long and expensive process, and it's not something that you can go in one direction on Tuesday and then change directions on Thursday. This is a multi-year pathway that's set upon. So again, in the model, the school has to live on the campus of a larger research university, as is typified by one of the schools I developed, the Burrell College of Osteopathic Medicine at New Mexico State University. The reason we do that is because medical students need student life and support services, athletics, housing, meals, everything you think about with a large university, and of course with this project, spiritual support as well. So in this project, we're looking to locate the medical school on the campus of a faithful Catholic university. We have 2 universities in consideration for this right now. We're in the term sheet stage with these universities, and the closest one is 1,200 miles away from Genoa Township. So there's no conceivable way that this could be done on on this campus. And I would doubt the accreditors and the U.S. Department of Education would even permit it, because it would be such an implausible thing to put a major university on that sort of a campus. So I'm happy to take any questions, and I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Machowski.
So just to close, again, we know there's been a lot of talk about potential other uses on the site. So the point of that was to provide additional insight beyond what I can provide on the engineering side of things or zoning that you all already know, but additional insight into the workings and how that's set up, just to further show the infeasibility of some of the allegations of what was projected to be on this site. So with that being said, we're here to seek the approval from the board to move forward with the site plan, special use, and the environmental impact assessment. And at this time, we'd be happy to field any questions from public or the board.
Thank you for your presentation. Before we go to the Q&A, let's move on to Justin Sprague. Is Justin on the line?
Justin is on the line. Just unmuted him. Go ahead whenever you're ready, Justin.
Thank you, and good evening to the board. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. My name is Justin Sprague. I am with Community Image Builders, CIB Planning. We are a private practice consulting firm that specializes in planning and zoning, and we are based out of Fenton, Michigan. We were retained by a number of residents in the Chilson Road area that had concerns about this project, specifically around the nature of the project and the extent of the project. And so they sought us out and retained us to provide a secondary review of the standards within your zoning ordinance for special land use approval. And so this evening, what I'll be discussing is the special land use approval. I will not be discussing the site plan itself. But you should have a letter that was dated April 5th, 2021 from me addressed to the Township Board with regards to the CHI project. You will see throughout this letter that I will provide enough information that we believe will satisfy that this project does not meet the requirements for special land use approval under the Genoa Township zoning ordinance. And if you could look at specifically page 2, your standards are found in Article 1903, stating any special land use must adhere to all the following general standards listed within the zoning ordinance. Under number 1, that it's compatible in accordance with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Genoa Township Master Plan and promote a statement of purpose of the zoning district in which the use is proposed. In this case, we find that it was not in compliance for the following reasons. The statement of purpose in your zoning ordinance for these districts states that the agricultural districts are established in recognition for their contribution toward the township's quality of life and economic diversity. Within there, you have 2 districts, ag and country estates. Specifically, in country estates, it states that principal use is residential with smaller scale farming, and it is the health, safety, and welfare contribution of this district is to retain the rural atmosphere and quality of life, accommodating compatible, very low density residential development. Now, according to the minutes of the March 8th Planning Commission meeting, the applicant indicates that the site is, quote, at the beginning, they will be holding 1 mass per week. And once awareness of their site increases, it may increase to 3 masses per week. The maximum use would be 1 mass per day. This is important because if and when the applicant reaches the maximum use, the site would see nearly 80 vehicle trips per day coming and going from the site for the primary use based on the total number of parking spaces on site. This does not account for vehicle trips to the site to utilize the accessory uses at the site, which could take that trip generation from the site to well over 100 vehicle trips per day. Further, the applicant states the following with regard to special events at the site. If needs increase and there is not enough parking, they will encourage carpooling, institute a shuttle service, or stagger the events. This will also be known before the event happens and will be then moved to a local parish to accommodate those number of attendees. following up with a statement, this site is not big enough to host massive 200-car events. So by the applicant's own admission, this site is not appropriate for large events or a large number of vehicles, which we agree, and for this reason believe this proposed development is not compatible with this zoning district. But further, there are two areas specifically in the Genoa Township Master Plan that, based on research, analysis, and public input, would determine that this proposed use of the site would not be compatible. One, the future land use plan. It states that these areas shall remain in agricultural use or develop as single-family residential on estate lots. Lastly, as these areas are not planned for sanitary sewer, they can only support low-density residential development. This classification is not recommended for single-family residences on lots any smaller than 5 acres. Second, this area is outside of your growth management boundaries. The residents of Genoa Township have consistently stated that preserving the natural beauty of the township and controlling urban sprawl are important priorities for planning the community. And you do have growth management boundaries in which this site does fall outside of. Development outside of this boundary is not prohibited. However, because public utilities are not available in these areas, development needs to be maintained at relatively low intensity again, and that the character of the development needs to not adversely impact natural features and agricultural uses. So again, that is our reasoning for why this does not meet standard number 1. Number 2, to be designed and constructed and operated and maintained and compatible with not significantly alter the existing or intended character of the area. We found again that this is not in compliance. Based on our review of the site plan, our understanding is this is a very rural area. It would be difficult to believe that there is any way in which the proposed development could not significantly alter the existing character based on vehicle trips alone. Number 4, not involve uses, activities, processes, or materials detrimental to the natural environment. We did find that this could partially be in compliance. Currently, you do have a noise ordinance that states that any bells under 90 decibels would be exempt from your noise ordinance. And you do have a recommendation from your planning consultant, Mr. Brian Borden, that an independent study should be conducted to verify that any proposed bell at this site would remain under 90 decibels or would not exceed that. That decibel examination was not completed at the time that the Planning Commission recommended approval to this board. And so we would ask that if any approval would be granted, that would be a condition that decibel study be completed prior to any approval. Lastly, provide mitigation necessary to minimize or prevent negative impacts. Again, we found that this was not in compliance. Given the fact that the site will have 38 parking spaces, it was asked by, again, planner Brian Borden to look at an option of land bank parking spaces and that the parking not be allowed on the turf. At an event at this site in the recent past, vehicles were not only parking on the site, but also along Chilson Road. It is our opinion that in order for this standard to be met, all parking should be contained on site on improved surfaces, being asphalt or concrete, and that off-site parking and shuttling should not be a viable alternative to meet this standard, as then would be we would definitely view this as a commercial use. Further, to support that, within Article 14 of your zoning ordinance, parking and loading and unloading standards, item 14.02.03, parking location, states that parking spaces shall be provided either on the same lot, within lots under the same ownership, or where a shared parking easement is provided on an adjacent lot within 300 feet of the building it is intended to serve. Again, given that provision of your zoning ordinance, we would ask that if there is any approval granted for this special land use, that it be conditioned that all parking must be provided on site, not along Chilson Road, and that shuttling shall not be allowed based on the ordinance requirement. So with that, I have the few recommendations to offer. Based upon the above analysis, number 1, we would recommend denial of the special land use request for the following reasons. 1, that the special land use request is not consistent with the intent of the zoning district which it is located. 2, that the special land use request is not consistent with the future land use plan or the growth management boundaries within the master plan. 3, that the vehicle trips per day will impact the existing character of the area in a negative manner. 4, that a decibel study was not conducted to ensure that the proposed bell will not exceed 90 decibels per the Genoa Township noise ordinance. And 5, that mitigation has not been provided on the site plan for an abundance of overflow parking when the site is at full capacity. Now, I understand that we have the option tonight to approve with conditions or deny. And so what we would ask is if you were to approve with conditions, that again, you consider the decibel study, and that also that the parking shall be contained only on site on an improved surface, and that offsite parking and shuttling be strictly prohibited. And lastly, if you are not in the position that you believe that the facts presented to you this evening fully support approval or denial, we would request that you at least table this decision until after the proposed May 25th dedication event at the site, so the township could at that point in time verify or see the on-the-ground conditions for parking and how parking is utilized on that site. But again, our first option is to support the special land use denial motion provided to you from your staff planner, Kelly Van Marter. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have of me.
Thank you. Let's move on to the trustees. Do the trustees have any comments, questions?
I can start if you would like.
Please.
I guess just a point of clarification. During the petitioner's presentation, he made the comment that there was a lot of misunderstanding out there. And I appreciate that he referenced the statement that's on the website. However, I think the misunderstanding out there is because the homepage on that exact website still states that there's going to be a hospital and the home for the brain injured, which, while one is saying one thing, the homepage is saying another. But anyway, I reviewed everything from the Planning Commission. I've read the very many correspondence that we've received. I visited the site. I think it's a wonderful project. I just think it's in the complete wrong area. This location is not a good fit for this.
Okay, anyone else from the board?
I agree with Robin. It's a great project, but it just does not belong there.
As you know, it passed the Planning Commission by very close call, 4-3. My opinion, it is compatible with the area. They're going to preserve the characteristics of the area. The statement that it's not compatible, I believe, is incorrect. When is a church ever compatible with any area? That's why it's a special use in every residential district we have. With regard to the bell, there does not need to be a decibel study because the bells and chimes are exempt from sound ordinances in the township ordinance. So I am in favor of proceeding with this and will support its approval of special land use, site plan, and environmental impact assessment.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment. I appreciate the intent of what CHI represents. However, I strongly object to the location chosen, which is situated on country estate zoning, and that violates our master plan and zoning ordinances. We don't know what else may be planned in the future to be built on that land. And I'm afraid that by approving this, it will spoil the rural atmosphere that the neighbors are presently enjoying and they expect to enjoy in the future. Because when you open one door, then you're able to open others because you've approved this one.
Yes, I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
If a person owns property and they want to develop their property, and they're developing it within the township zoning ordinance, except for the special use permit that's just for a church. At this point in the application, I think it's a reasonable application. And what I'm concerned about is the future. If we do not approve this property, they don't own property on Grand River, and I don't think Grand River is a great spot to put this kind of a facility. But if they don't get what they ask, it's like other churches that we've had before our board before, and what they're going to do is they're going to sue us. And the cost to take us to court can be, I'm just talking about a previous request that we had to take care of. I mean, it could cost us $200,000 in general fund budgets. And denying a use on a 40-acre parcel for a small chapel that's the same size as some homes in Genoa Township doesn't seem unreasonable. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment?
Yeah, the other thing I would mention is it's 600 feet from Chilson Road. That's 2 football fields. You know, it's a long way back.
I'd like to make a comment about that, Mr. Mortensen.
Please.
There's turning right into the property is no problem, but turning left would require a left turning lane to eliminate traffic backup.
The county has signed off on the entrance and exit and would require, as I recall, a slow down lane if it expands beyond, if there was an effort to expand it beyond what it is.
All righty. Anyone else care to comment?
One more comment. Yeah. Has any provision been made to take care of the elderly and the handicapped?
They have barrier, they have handicap parking.
Within that 38?
Yeah, I have to look at the site plan again, but
well, I'm even thinking about wheelchairs or crutches or things like that to make it more comfortable for these people to get around.
If I can jump in, there are ADA spaces immediately adjacent to the church, and there are sidewalks and ADA ramps on the route to the church.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions from the board?
Yes, I do like the comments that were in the last paragraph of Mr. Sprague's letter. That all parking shall be contained on the site, improved services and that off-site parking and shuttling be strictly prohibited, as the use of shuttles and buses would create a significant impact to the area. I do like that comment, and I think that if we move for approval, that should be included in our motion.
Thank you. Again, anyone else? Let's move on to calls from the public. Here I have to ask Matt and Luke, do we have folks that opine?
So we do have some callers in right now. First, I'll take caller ending in 0114. Remember to state your full name and address, and you will have a 2-minute time limit. Go ahead and unmute yourself and speak when you're ready.
Hello?
Hello.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. I didn't know I would be first. My name is Kathy Marshall. I live at 5574 Richardson Road. That's within Genoa Township. I am a proponent, a supporter of the chapel going in at this site. I know a lot of friends in the area who, may not be at the meeting, but we were greatly love to see it there. My comment is that it's a chapel. Whenever you drive by a church, and they are in country settings quite often, they're not usually loud, ruckus properties. They're usually quiet. Catholic churches will have daily masses. It is true. Usually a Sunday mass is going to be busier, and daily masses not as much traffic for sure, but it's very common for all Catholic churches to have daily masses, but they're quieter. And so that's my comment. I was comparing this to a next door app, like to talking to people, like to Chilson Hills Church is very quiet, although they have a preschool and they have, I think it's a bigger facility and stuff. It's very quiet. I drive by there a lot. And so I'm just calling to advocate for it. I know they're going to have a couple of events per year. And if you don't mind the analogy, I live in a residence on 5 acres. I hope I'm a fairly good neighbor. We don't make a whole lot of noise all the time, although I have a lot of kids, but a few times a year we'll have a grad party. We'll have a lot of kids over. We'll turn the music up. We have a few events a year and I don't think it disrupts the neighbors because they know it's just that one time. And I don't know if this is a fitting analogy or if that's really bad to make, but I mean, I don't think that they're going to be loud, and I do believe they'll be good neighbors. And I think they're going to be, just like most churches, they're going to be pretty quiet. And one other church I'd like to point to is Holy Spirit in Hamburg. They have a school, they have a pavilion, they have a gift shop. And if you drive by, it's really a pretty place. And it's, again, it's a church with a lot of acreage around it. It's pretty to look at. It preserves some, open space, and it's really pretty quiet. So that's all I want to say. I'm in support of the project and hope that it gets approved.
Thank you. Next.
Next, we have caller ending in 3663. Please remember to state your full name and address, and you have 2 minutes. Unmute yourself and talk to the board when you're ready.
Hello?
Caller ending in 3663, you're still muted. If you'd like to talk to him, make sure you unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is April Chnowski. The address is 3242 Waverly Woods Lane. I'm not in support of this project because I'm not convinced that it is not going to, take away our small town feel. We've moved into the area recently within the last couple of years. We moved because we like that there's not a lot of people out here. There is a lot of land available. There's a lot, you don't have the traffic. And I'm concerned that's going to change. I understand it's just one small chapel, but as the previous caller just pointed out, there's many, many churches in the area. We do already have a lot of these facilities. They are talking about a hospital and a medical school, and I'm assuming it's not on the property, obviously. There's not room for it, but I'm sure they're going to want to be somewhere else close in this area. And to me, that's a whole new ballgame with that. I'm afraid there's going to be too much traffic. There's an elementary school close to the area there. I'm concerned about that. And I guess that's not why I moved to this area. I moved because we thought we were basically moving to the country, and we didn't want a lot more projects going up, that type of thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Michael Williams. Michael Williams, state your full name and address and unmute yourself, and you can talk to the board.
Yeah, my name is Mike Williams. I live on Westfall Road. Trying to get away from the speaker so it doesn't echo. First of all, I want to say I was born and raised Catholic, and I have all the respect for Boss Engineering. but I believe the answers they were given feel like listening to a politician. Everything was open-ended. We have no definite answers on anything. I oppose this whole project. Don't want the noise. I don't want the traffic. I don't believe this is the correct area for them to put this church. There's lots of property in other areas up towards I-96 and Lamson interchange area. They can put it up there. They can sell the property they have and buy the property that's for sale up there. We do not want this in this area. There's too much traffic. I do not believe any of the answers that they have about the church bells. You know, they and even the masses, first they say 3 days a week, maybe 4 days a week, maybe 7 days a week. Maybe we'll ring the bells from 9 to 5 or 9 to 10, or we might ring them 24 hours a day. Everything is open answered. I do not want it here.
Time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have MPB. MPB, go ahead and state your full name and address, unmute yourself, and you can talk to the board.
Hi, my name is Matthew Betts. I live in Oak Point. Like many Catholics and other Christians in the area, we'd like to have this quiet space to pray, attend Stations of the Cross, or meditate. There's a lot of support within the local churches, all citizens of Genoa Township. If the board requires written proof of that, I'm sure that all those people could send emails to the board, but I hope that's not necessary. I think it's understandable that anytime there's an opportunity to better the overall community, that those neighbors immediately surrounding the site are going to complain. They're going to find anything to complain about. They express personal concern over the community good. And I guess I suppose it's normal for them to worry about themselves instead of the Genoa Township community. But the rest of us that live in Genoa Township and want items that benefit our community to go forward, hope that the board can look at everybody's needs. I think somebody mentioned a little bit earlier a very good point. All the supposition about what might happen and growth and traffic is really irrelevant. The only thing that the board is looking at is what's on the application, and that's for a very simple question. We hope that the board can grant the limited request and protect the neighbors against future development at the same time. I'd like to close by giving an experience I had just yesterday. And I know this is going to sound a little weird, but I've got a new puppy. And so I took him to a private park that's, oh, is that the timer?
That's the timer.
Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Steve Grono. Go ahead and unmute yourself. State your full name and address. You have 2 minutes.
Well, hi, folks. This is Steve Grono. Most of you know me already. I live in the township. I am the first neighbor to the south, minus the small property where there's a home being built right now. So I'm the guy that's going to hear the bell, and I'm the guy that's going to live with whatever happens there. Probably the closest neighbor and the most impacted by it. And I will tell you that I'm in full support of the project. I feel like it's a wonderful use of the property. I know there's a lot of concern out there, and I think a lot of it is legitimate. So from my point of view, the use of 40 acres on Chilson Road for what is going to be a tranquil, calm, peaceful, beautiful, natural setting set in some sort of perpetuity with a 6,000 square foot chapel. I mean, that's the size of most people's pole barns around the community. It's not a big development. 38 parking spaces is going to have zero impact on traffic. I think a lot of the report from the hired gun we heard earlier is false and just misleading. You're not going to notice any increase in traffic on Chilson Road. You're not going to notice any disturbance in your life. All you're going to have is a permanent open space that's going to bless a lot of people, that's going to let people come be calm, be quiet. This is not joggers and skateboarders and bikers like at the metro parks. It's a very calm, serene setting that I can't imagine a better use of this property. And secondly, you know, by special use, a church could be there. A church is a full-blown church. You're talking about hundreds of people every weekend, a lot of traffic, a lot. That would be something that the township probably could not deny if the petitioner came forward and said, we'd like to put a church there. I think the township would have a hard time denying that. So I think this is something that the board should really reconsider. Those in opposition should reconsider their position. I feel like it's the right thing to do to vote yes. So, you know, hopefully folks will just let their heart guide them and listen carefully to what's been said tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have caller ending in 9837. Go ahead and unmute yourself, state your full name and address, and you have 2 minutes to talk to the board.
Hello?
You need
They
to
were live
press
for a second.
*6 to unmute yourself.
Hello?
Try it one more time. I've seen you unmuted and mute a couple times.
Hello?
There you go.
Hello. I was trying to unmute. Please start the timer over. This is Linda Holland. I live at 302. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello? Okay. This is Linda Holland. I live at 3023 Pardee Road. Like many of my neighbors who oppose this project, I am Catholic. I don't oppose the project or the mission. I only object to the location. It's a little insulting what I'm hearing today about hired guns, and it's just unbelievable that we can't possibly understand a spiritual journey because we oppose it is preposterous. I am a big proponent of property rights, so opposing this project is not something I relish. That being said, it's wrong for an organization that has been gifted land and as such has no ties to this area, history here, or personal investment here to impose changes that will negatively affect my life and that of my neighbors. My husband and I, we moved out here in 1995 because of this rural setting, peace and quiet. The project will be on land adjacent to ours, and unlike a neighbor that builds a barn or an addition or garage, this will affect that rural setting, peace and quiet. Quite frankly, it's beyond a simple chapel, but they're touting it as a prayer campus. This prayer campus is an international pilgrimage site. What does that tell you? Again, I am not opposed to this project. I think it's a wonderful project. It should proceed only in an area appropriately zoned with the infrastructure to accommodate all planned phases or no other planned phases, not in an area that would need to change to accommodate the project. Thank you, and God bless all involved.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have caller ending in 2756. Go ahead and unmute yourself and then state your full name and address, and you have 2 minutes.
Hi, this is Kathy Elwell Johnson. I can be heard, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Continue.
Okay, it says I'm unmuted.
We can hear you now, again.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, this is Kathy Elwell Johnson. I just wanted also, as the last caller, to say that this is not, it really shouldn't be about religion. It's about what the use of the property within the residential community is. I'm Catholic. That doesn't really hold any water here, in my opinion, and that's really what I'm hearing today is that if you're Catholic, you have to not be in opposition to it almost. A prayer journey, that's awesome. And the place where it has been chosen to put it right in the middle, when you walk on there, you can practically touch the people that are living around it. It's an exaggeration, but it's very close. The bells ringing, the masses every day, and the projection by CHI itself that it wants to draw people. That's the way you're going to get your donations. And it's just in the middle, dropped in the middle of a residential agricultural area, and it will impact the traffic. Everything that we've seen that's come into this area has impacted traffic. And when you're going to Brighton Road, taking my horse trailers down that way, which is why I moved out to this area, it's a traffic problem already.
All right.
So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Patrick. Patrick, you can unmute yourself and state your full name and address, and you have 2 minutes to speak.
I am Patrick Powers on Kellogg Road. I'm for the project. I think we all want peace and quiet. I think it's written in our heart by the Creator, and no one deserves it more than those who've tirelessly labored for their vocations to scrimp and save and build that little piece of heaven. But I think Catholic Healthcare International's mission is the same. They want to bridge, the gap between heaven and earth, and to bring peace and quiet and people that want to go and pray to Jesus Christ, the way, the truth, and the life. I'm hearing a lot of build it somewhere else. It doesn't belong here. Well, why? Because it's allegedly going to increase traffic. If you look at the master plan in section C, existing traffic conditions, they only call out 2 roads across the 6-mile length of I-96 through the township, Chilson and Dorr. And it says later on, it's impossible to apply a general formula to fix this. It's a main artery through the township, and it's a problem that existed long before Catholic Healthcare International's mission. So it's not even really regarded as traffic, because traffic is only evaluated to the extent to which motorists are delayed in their travel. And it looks like, based on the entrance into the campus, nothing's really going to impede that. And the only people it's going to impede is the people trying to exit to the left. But that's, like I said, not even worth debating here.
Time.
It seemed like 2 minutes.
All right.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a quick point, by the way. Many folks, pro and con, have emailed the township. So we have had over the time a substantial amount of feedback via the internet. So folks, because I thought I heard a comment a few minutes ago, we have received a lot of stuff. And so I thank you for that input. Go ahead, man, or Luke.
All right, next caller is phone number ending in 2649. You can unmute yourself, state your full name and address, and you have 2 minutes to talk to the board. Caller 2649, you need to unmute yourself before you can talk. There you go.
Hello, can you hear me?
There you go. Yes, we can.
Okay, great. My name is Marty Farrand. I live at 222 South Tompkins Street in Howell, Michigan. And I would like to speak in support of the Padre Pio Chapel. I'd like to start by restating that this chapel only seats, I believe it's 60 to 80 people, max. It's probably going to be the smallest church in the township or the county. There's no project. I cannot imagine a project that would change the property less than this chapel. they're preserving the environment, the trees, it's off the road, and there's only 38 parking spots. I think that all of us are easily triggered into fear right now because of what's been going on in the world. I think this is totally about fear. And I would like to appeal to the committee or the board. You are on the board because you're very fair-minded, objective, reasonable, clear-thinking people. Please make your decision based on the facts, not fear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Fr.John Rockus. You can unmute yourself and state your full name and address. You have 2. John, you've got to unmute yourself before the board can hear
you got it.
There
You
you
hear me
go.
now?
Yep.
Okay, it's Father John Rokas. I'm the pastor at Holy Spirit Parish, you just mentioned a few minutes ago. Been here for 14 years and I was a pastor, and I've endured a lot of progress over here. And just like the rest of the county right now, things are really ramped up. Biggest project was right down the street, and was a cause of great concern, a lot of resistance. That was that sports center, the Legacy Sports Center. But I didn't want to say anything about that. I just want to talk a little bit about a man who built a hospital one time. And it's not that Padre Pio guy you're thinking about. It's about somebody you're much more familiar with, and that's Danny Thomas. He lived not too far from here, down by Toledo. Very devout Catholic man, Lebanese background, great entertainer. But I think his great legacy will be his philanthropy. Whenever he was trying to get started back in the late 40s, he was having a difficult time. So he went to a church in Detroit, fell to his knees, and asked God for help. And he did it through his favorite saint. And he got his prayer answered, and he honored his vow. And that was to build a shrine. And that shrine became the St. Luke's Children's Research Hospital down in Tennessee. So, he knew quite early on he couldn't do it on his own. He needed big-hearted people just like himself. And so he put out the call, and those people built that hospital, and they've supported it ever since. And if you've ever watched the ads, you know that they're a free hospital. So I think what we're doing right now is looking for big-hearted people around here to just say, hey, listen, this is a great idea. It's a novel idea. That hospital may not be here. It might be somewhere else. It might be sooner, it might be later. We don't know that. All we're talking about is a place to fall on our knees and ask for God's help to help us be instruments in following Padre Pio's vision. And I do hope that if you've not taken a look on Google or YouTube to find out who this Padre is, you might want to give it a try, because he was a God-fearing man and loved people. And his biggest legacy, as he said it himself, was that hospital that he made over there in Italy. And so we're looking to do that as well. Again, we don't know when it's going to happen, sooner or later, near or far, but nevertheless, we are looking for those big-hearted people to assist us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So we have one more caller on the line, but before I take him, I just want to remind everyone, if you're calling in on phone, hit *9 to indicate you want to speak. If you're on YouTube, follow the instructions on your screen. You can either call the number or go to that link provided there. And then if you're on computer, you need to find the raise hand button on your screen to indicate that you want to talk. So next up, we have Lisa Spittler. You can unmute yourself, state your full name and address, and talk to the board.
Hi, my name is Lisa Spittler. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, I feel like I do that at my meetings every week. So great. I'm glad you guys can. I'm at 1024 West Main Street. And I moved from Genoa Township to downtown Brighton. And I just wanted to give you guys an analogy here, because I do support the Padre Pio chapel going in. I didn't have the opportunity to say that they couldn't put in restaurants in downtown Brighton. And I didn't have the opportunity to say the 4th of July parade is just too loud. Stop having it. And my neighbors and I couldn't get together and say, you know what, we're not going to be a shopping town, and we're not going to be a restaurant town and a bar town. We're not given that opportunity to do that. So the fact that you as the board are even allowing that, I think that's a very gracious thing that you're doing. But we also have to look at if we didn't have any progress, Grundy's would still be here. Target wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have Bed Bath & Beyond. We wouldn't have all of this other progress. And so this is a chapel that they're speaking about. It is a very small area. And it brings Jesus to a lot of people. And I know that people keep saying, I'm Catholic, I'm Christian, I don't oppose this, I don't oppose that, but I don't want it here. I don't know what Jesus would say if we ever said, Jesus, I love you, but I don't want you here. Like, not in my heart. I'm sorry, not here. So when I hear people coming up and advocating their horse trailer, which causes traffic, because the last woman said there's too much traffic, but my horse trailer is causing some of it. But then she says, I'm Catholic. It just, to me, is astonishing that we're having this conversation about a chapel.
Okay, time's up.
Thank you very much.
All right, next we have caller ending in 4699. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, state your full name and address, and talk to the board.
Hello, this is Bill Galvin, 4037 Chilson Road. Just want to thank the Board of Trustees. I think some of you may know my name. I used to be an elected official. I used to sit in your seat in a different community. So I understand intricately the level of magnitude of the decision before you, and I appreciate the work and dedication you've given to this, as well as our community. Reflecting on this, I've distilled this down to 2 points. This is about in the area compared to shall require. And I think that everybody that you're hearing from, pro or con, would love to have this project in the area. I think it would provide a terrific venue and terrific branding and some spiritual opportunity for all of us if it was in the area. But 3280 Chilson is a neighborhood and not the best site for it. So that's where it comes down to the second point, which is our zoning standards, which are stated that you shall require. So really, I think the vote before you tonight is, are you going to require the enforcement of the zoning standards that we elected you to maintain for us? If you cast a no vote, I don't think a no vote actually means no. To many of us, no is absolute. In this case, it's not. A no vote means that CHI will be back with a different proposal in a different form, and hopefully they'll take my original advice and engage us in a civic engagement project. I think this is desperately needed, and a no does not mean no. A no just means a different path. Lastly and briefly, Mr. Palazzolo, I take umbrage with you saying that we don't know the Holy Spirit. Your role is not to judge us. You're invited to come get to know us better, but I don't appreciate that statement that we do not understand the Holy Spirit. You do not understand my Catholicism, but I'm more than willing to meet with you to talk about it.
Yep, that was that time?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Time. Thank you.
Okay.
Next up, we have caller ending in 0801. You can unmute yourself, state your full name and address, and address the board.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, there you are. Oh, it's muted again.
Okay, how about now?
You're back. Thank you.
All right, cool. Hi, my name is Lexi Jones. I live at 3553 Westfall Road. Many residents, including myself, are concerned with the lack of clarity in defining what the proposed land use is. Our community does not truly know what's being applied for because the land use has not been clearly or consistently defined by the applicant. The applicant's land use explanations in meetings and forms of media are fluid from month to month and even week to week. After years of planning a massive campus with multiple uses and selecting the site as the foundation, is it out of the ordinary for our community officials to ask, where will the remainder of campus be located? All we want to see is a clearly defined conceptual plan for the entire campus that the applicant proposed to the Archdiocese of Lansing. After several meetings, we still do not know the answers to this. The most recent example of the constant change in rhetoric and messages is the May 25th event celebrating the anniversary of Padre Pio's birth that has been scrubbed from social media and the website. We feel this is an example of reactionary messages that is a direct result of us citizens asking for quantifiable data that would more accurately reflect the future land use and impact on the surrounding residential areas. There is a significant degree of missing information from the applicant's original application that fell short of the mark, specifically a vision concept that was requested by the Planning Commission, as well as a sound study that was also requested by the board but never submitted before preliminary approval. In order for this project to move forward and to open a community dialogue, there needs to be clear, concise, and precise communication without constantly changing the land use and saying whatever needs to be said to garner approval. Please vote no so that our community can continue an interactive dialogue for a land use that will fit the future of Genoa Township. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have caller ending in 4284. You can unmute yourself, state your full name and address, and you have 2 minutes to address the board.
Hello?
Caller 4284, you're still muted. I lost you. Go ahead and raise your hand again using *9 if you wish to speak. I'm going to move on to Melanie Johnson. Melanie Johnson, you can unmute yourself, state your full name and address, and talk to the board. We can hear you. Go ahead and speak.
Hello?
Melanie Johnson, if you're there, you're unmuted. You can speak to the board. Okay, we're going to cycle back to Melanie Johnson there. Got caller 6498. You can unmute yourself and talk to the board. State your full name and address. Caller 6498, you need to unmute yourself to talk to the board.
I guess, well, let's go to the next one.
All right, hold on here. We've got caller 9511. Caller 9511. You can unmute yourself, say your full name and address, and talk to the board.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Jacob Vogan. I live at 5790 Pinckney Road in Howell. Just wanted to say that I do oppose this project. I myself, like many others, moved out here many, many years ago away from other busy cities to enjoy the peaceful country life. I'm not interested in businesses coming into neighborhoods. Part of the, confusion, so they say, is the local residents don't believe what they are being told, because I have paper advertisement from their site right there on Chilson Road that was handed out for free, pinned to the trees, that says this is a multi-phase project taking place right there on that campus. Their website also indicated that up until just a couple weeks ago when they finally edited it, now that there's a bunch of opposition. The rest of us do believe even if they don't put it right here at this address, they will put it at a neighboring address, which will be easy to buy them out once they get their foot in the door. So that's where the so-called confusion is. I have written paper advertisements from your company showing multi-phase projects that was just handed out about a month and a half ago. So I don't think that you've had this project in work for 9 years, and all of a sudden, in a couple weeks ago, after a bunch of local opposition, you guys decided to change. So that's where I stand, and I hope you guys do your job and vote no. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have caller ending in 0385. Caller ending in 0385. You can unmute yourself, state your full name and address, and you have 2 minutes to talk to the board.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm John Walbank. I live at 2899 Pardee Road in Genoa Township. Unlike some of the callers who are not in Genoa Township, I agree with Mr. Galvin, Ms. Jones, some of the previous callers who've articulated some very specific objections to this project. People in this community surrounding this project and extending up and down Chilson Road and Coon Lake Road and Crooked Lake Road find this project to be inappropriate for this area. I hope that the township trustees represent their constituents and not someone from Missouri in voting down this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, I've got caller 4284. Caller 4284, you can unmute yourself, state your full name and address, and then you have 2 minutes to talk to the board. Caller 4284, you are still muted.
Luke, some people are hitting *9 instead of *6 for unmuting.
Hello,
Oh, we can hear you.
I am here. This is
Very
Deborah
good.
Jones. I live at 3553 Westfall Road. And I am against this project, and I have a list. Most are not against the concept of CHI. However, we are against the project in this area. This area is zoned agriculture, country estates, and is protected under our zoning map. CHI has given mixed signals from what they say in these meetings to what is portrayed on their website and even in their proposed plans. Their motives are viewed as suspect from the community due to approaching neighbors for potential sale of adjacent properties and denying it, to parking on the shoulder of Chilson Road during an event and trespassing on neighbors' property using their full driveway to exit. Melanie Johnson has given you stats on the number of people who visit these sites, and there are over 200,000 pilgrims a year, and other sites exceed this number in a year. And I know that you think, oh, the money that will come into this community, but at what price will it cost our rural community? Let's see. CHA has done a wonderful job keeping the church and parking lot to one side. The problem is the community does not believe it will stay that way. Once the project has the blessing of the board, we believe they will keep coming back for additional land permits.
Yeah.
Our planner has been in contact with them to no avail. If CHI had hopes of earning the trust and partnering with this community, their actions have proven otherwise. This is not how you inspire a community to gather around your cause, and I believe this should be denied. But to the other people who approve this project, I resent being proselytized to. It has nothing to do with their vision. Jesus does not live on that land. He lives in your heart. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, as a quick reminder for everyone on a phone, when you're allowed to speak, you're gonna have to hit *6 to unmute yourself. It's *9 to raise your hand and indicate you wish to speak. But once we call on you, you're gonna wanna hit *6 to unmute yourself so we can hear you. With that, I'm gonna call on phone number. Hold on one second here. We'll do let's see, 0688. 0688. You can unmute yourself using *6. State your full name and address and go ahead and speak to the board.
Hi, this is Lee Wolney. I live at 3591 Westfall Road. Everybody that's been in opposition to this, for whatever the reasons are, I agree with. I just want to repeat all the comments that have been made. What I'd like to add is what I would like to see is a limitation put in on lighting. There's something called dark sky or night sky lighting, so that the lights face down to the ground and it doesn't produce a glow in the sky, because that is part of our rural life, is to have a dark sky at night. Other than that, I also am sure that this is a pilgrimage site, and apparently there's been not much discussion about the fact that when you have a pilgrimage site, a lot of people want to come. And Chilson Road is a rural country road, and I would like to keep it that way. It has nothing to do with religion or faith. There's 45 acres for sale right up on Latson Road that is zoned in a way that would be totally congruent with this plan. They could sell that property and trade it in for the 45 acres on Latson Road, which is properly zoned for this kind of an operation. So other than that, I agree with all my neighbors. But I would like to see some kind of study done about the night sky lighting, if this actually does take place. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have caller 6498. Caller 6498, state your full name and address. Unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Vince Parlov, and I border the church property at 3440 Chilson, along with my neighbor, Sean Nestor. And we are the first residents south of the property. And, you know, I've sat back and really just gathered a lot of information up to this point. And my wife and I are in support of the project, but just not at the current location. You know, I would really implore not only the folks that are getting ready to vote tonight, but anybody that's in support or denial of this, to come and just sit on the property. Sunday morning, my wife and I were the folks that are building the home next to the church, and we probably witnessed 39 cars come in and out of that property before noon. So, you know, a lot of folks that aren't even close to the property are expressing their opinion, which you're absolutely able to do. But this is not about God. 51 years Brighton resident, 51 years baptized at St. Patrick's Catholic Church. So, you know, I feel like it's almost like you have to say that to, you know, to give yourself any credibility in this conversation, which is silly to me, in my opinion. But I really think this.
If you can wrap up real quick.
He's gone.
Okay.
If you had any last comments.
I think this comes down. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I think this comes down to one thing. I don't care what people think, or what, you shouldn't even really care what I think or anything of that nature. Does this meet the first part of Mr. Sprague's proposal? Yes or no? And then really you can pivot from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, next up we have caller ending in 1980. You can unmute yourself using *6, state your full name and address, and you have 2 minutes to talk to the board.
Yes, hello, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, hi. My name is Deborah Beatty. My husband and I own actually 2 properties in Genoa, both approximately a half a mile from the subject property. We both feel this project should not be approved for this location due to the surrounding properties all being residential. The project that's currently on the table is the only one I'm thinking about. Whatever they may have planned for the future, I'm not dealing with that right now. It's just what is on the table will disrupt the surrounding residents' peaceful enjoyment of their own properties, and that would be mine included, due to an expected daily increased traffic, increased noise, the city lights another talked about, possibly bells ringing. And what I believe is more worrisome to me, and probably the neighbors that are right next to the property, is the fact that this property will be open every day to the public with strangers walking through the property. Maybe just a few at a time, maybe busloads. Any day, any time on a property surrounded by homes. The applicants are advertising this location as a place to visit. They want visitors. That will keep going. There will be visitors, and they probably want as many as possible. There will be daily masses, at least that's what they're saying. And who knows, they may have even more than one a day in the future. The master plan sets aside this area as country estate and ag, and it's totally unacceptable to allow this project to go forward. I believe it will negatively affect this area forever. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I've got Melanie Johnson on the line again here. Melanie Johnson, unmute yourself, state your full name and address, and you can speak to the board.
Hi, you got Melanie Johnson's spouse. I'm getting the computer to her right now. We're at 3751, 3990 Chilson Road.
I have many questions in the fact that the grotto is now described as a grotto sign rather than a grotto. So you have intentions of building a grotto, which, I don't know, it might house 100 people, 200 people, but now you've reverted to, after the January meeting, when, was it first, the planning commission's guidelines were saying, hey, what's this grotto mean? And now you've reverted to a grotto sign? That's really awful. Like, you're really, that's what you're gonna do? You said at February 8th, it's a grotto. Now you're saying at March 8th, it's not a grotto, it's a grotto sign. Very fake. I would like to have some actual numbers. Yeah, who sees National Center of Potterpedo? Like, could you give us actual numbers? Or are you too afraid because you know those numbers are so big, they have a 300 parking space area, that you cannot give this to this area, not low density. And that's in fact why you would not give the board, the planning commission, any numbers, because you know how many numbers will visit, quote, this saint, and you're just making stuff up.
Thank you for your time.
Good. Bye. Good night.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next up we have caller 0907. You can unmute yourself using *6, state your full name and address, and then you have 2 minutes to address the board. Caller 0907, you are still muted. You need to hit *6 on your phone to unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Cynthia. I live at 3175 Crooked Lake Road. I'm opposed to this project, not the project itself, but the position of the project. I believe that the committee should look at the master plan and base their decision on what they've denied from the people in the township and what they're looking at to deny or make this a yes decision with the CHI program that's in the effect. Sorry about that. I do think that since this is a country estates and aggregate committee, this should remain that. And since we are not allowed to do certain things on our own property that we paid for, nor should anybody else, Based on the caller's last thing too, I believe at the last meeting, they said they could take that grotto down in 30 minutes. I've walked back there. There's no way that would come down in 30 minutes. I think they never got a permit for that. I don't know if that was ever addressed by the committee. And then I hope that Polly's message about them suing the township does not, cause a yes vote for this. I don't think that it's appropriate. I don't think the people that called are appropriate in saying we don't believe in Jesus. Most of us believe in Jesus or God. We all have our own religion. I don't think that the religion, I think it should be based on the decision of the ordinance of the township, not on anything else. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next I have caller 4189. Caller 4189, you can unmute yourself using *6. State your full name and address, and you have 2 minutes to speak to the board.
Hello, am I live?
You're live.
Hi, Sean Nestor, 3360 Chilson Road. I'm the property owner directly south of the proposed church. I adjoin the property that's being proposed to be developed, and I am just calling for my disapproval of the building of the church, and I just wanted to make that known. I don't think it's congruent with the current rural atmosphere. I think that it's going to increase traffic. I think it's going to have a gross negative impact on the surrounding area as far as the current rural setting goes. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Dwayne Johnson. Dwayne Johnson, you can unmute yourself, state your full name and address, speak to the board.
Dwayne Johnson, 3990 Chilson Road. Just real quick response. I too am opposed to the location of the project. And for those saying that it will not increase traffic, a question for the trustees to ask Jer, how popular is Padre Pio? If this site is dedicated to him, doesn't he expect people to visit? That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
One last reminder to anyone calling in, if you want to speak, hit *9 to raise your hand and indicate that you wish to speak. And then for anyone on a computer, you need to find the raise hand button on your screen there. With that, we currently only have 2 more callers, but they're repeat callers. So that's up to the board whether they want to take them.
Let's go ahead.
Okay, we actually just had 1 more new caller come in, ending in 4837. So caller 4837, you can unmute yourself using *6. State your full name and address to speak to the board.
Hi, my name is Rory Clark. I live at 5468 East Grand River in Genoa Township. I'm one of the few people, I think, who apparently are in favor of this project. According to our zoning code, this is a permitted use with a special permit. And the only issue, even though, I respect the opinions of all these people calling in, but nobody's addressing the issue. The issue is whether or not it complies with the special permit requirements. As for the intentions of the property owner in the past, yes, I've seen that literature. I've seen it on their website. No doubt that they want to have a hospital or medical school to know the location. But clearly, this property is not zoned for a hospital or medical school, and it's never going to have a hospital or medical school on this property. They want to build a church, which is permitted by a special permit at this property. And really, the only issue is whether or not they comply with the special permit requirements, which they do. And clearly, there are things that the board can impose on there legally, such as the lighting that was mentioned, the number of parking spaces, etc. And I would just ask the board to, just as they always do in these matters, to just rationally consider the implications of the project. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got another new caller here who ends in 2606. So caller 2606, hit *6 to unmute yourself. State your full name and address, and you have 2 minutes to talk to the board.
My name is Elaine Sampson. I live on Sundance Trail. off of Brighton Road. And I think that there should be a traffic study on this, just to see really how much traffic. Brighton Road right now has a great deal of traffic, and it's difficult to get in and out of the subdivisions along Brighton Road. I have no problem with the Station of the Cross, and if it's just like the grotto. But then they started saying about a church, and then you hear about the hospital and a school, and that I'm against totally. This area just cannot accommodate that kind of traffic. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we are down to repeat callers here. Would you like me to take them?
How many?
Time it for 1 minute since they're a repeat.
Okay. All right. So Michael Williams, you can unmute yourself. You have 1 minute to talk to the board. Michael Williams, you're still unmuted. You're unmuted now. Go ahead and speak, Michael Williams.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
This is his wife. I was trying to get through, but obviously I could not for some reason. But I am opposed to this. And if you've
Make sure
been,
they can hear you.
if you've been paying attention to phone calls that have come in. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, if you paid attention to the phone calls that came in, there have been 6 people that want this project and 16 that do not. And the majority of the 16, other than 2, live right next to this project. The other ones live much further away. So it doesn't affect them as much as it does us. And it has nothing to do with personal feelings, as we stated earlier. It has to do as a homeowner. And you should also know that after all these people that showed up for those last 2 meetings, there's a reason we showed up. It's because we don't want the area. We don't mind the church, but we don't want it in our area.
Thank you. Time is up.
Hope that you vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we've now got caller 0907. This is a repeat, so you have 1 minute to speak to the board. Go ahead and unmute yourself with *6. Caller 0907, you're still muted. You need to unmute yourself if you wish to speak to the board. *6 to unmute yourself. I lost them, so I believe they didn't mean to raise their hand there. We've got Patrick in. Patrick, since this is a repeat call, you have 1 minute to speak to the board. You can go ahead and speak whenever you are ready.
Yeah, I was cut 30 seconds short anyway, but I just want to respond to the another objection that it's in a rural setting. It's going to take away from the surrounding area. I think it's a subjective metric. It doesn't really mean anything. But regardless, I think this Adoration Chapel is going to be surrounded by preserved natural beauty for masses, and along with giving adoration to Jesus Christ and King of the universe in the Blessed Sacrament. And that's not really taking anything away as much as giving back to God what was his in the first place. And I think the founders of this township understood this. Building the chapel would have been a foregone conclusion. I think 50 years or so ago, if you look at the history of Genoa, I think there's a reason why the namesake is the birthplace of Columbus. I think there's a reason German ancestors you find on all the roads around this township are named, built St. George's. You look at to the north, St. Augustine, surrounded by farmland, by Irish Catholics.
Time. Thank you.
Okay, so one last time here for anyone calling in, given we have no callers currently raising their hand. On phone, you're going to want to hit *9 to indicate that you wish to speak. If you are on a computer, you're going to want to find the raise hand button on your screen. We have one more caller who just raised their hand, ending in 1222. Caller 1222, You can unmute yourself with *6, state your full name and address, and speak to the board.
Hi, my name is Nancy Dewey. I live at 3559 Kipling Circle in Howell, about a mile away from the area. And I just wanted to call in support of it. I do actually work at St. Pat Church, and I've been out to the site a few times just for personal and private prayer. And I actually met with a gentleman that has been a strong opposition over this and was giving me a lot of information of why he was opposing this. And I was surprised at how misinformed he was and what actually an adoration chapel is, because he kept referring it to it as an apparition site. I've actually led many pilgrimages to an apparition site, and it's true, there are many people that show up to an apparition site. But an adoration chapel is not that at all. An adoration chapel is generally for very small private prayer, where people that just have a devotion to Jesus and the Blessed Sacrament to come and sit quietly before him in prayer. And that's what this is. This is not a church. This is not a parish community. This is simply a small area for prayer and personal prayer. And so for that reason, I also know that I've been to places outside of our state to find a small private adoration chapel, and there are not ones anything like this in our area. There may be an adoration chapel that's connected to a church, but those are very few and far between. So this would be a very something that is not as common as people think. And again, for a small amount of people to visit.
Thank you very much.
All right, I've got one more on the line currently. I just want to point out for anyone who needs help, you can call the support number there. If you're not able to get your hand up or ask a question, that's 719-822-1270. So we have Lorraine on the line. Lorraine, you can unmute yourself, state your full name and address, and you have 2 minutes to talk to the board. Lorraine, you're still muted. You have to unmute yourself so they can hear you.
Good evening. My name is Lorraine Crawford. My husband Dan and I live at 2564 Ravine Side South. And we're about 4 miles from the property. And we are very much in support of this. First of all, I know many people on the board, and they really have the utmost integrity. And the woman earlier spoke to how many calls are for or against. Well, we've been here 25 years as far as, growth and everything. And yes, there was the days where there was a blinking light at Golf Club in Latson. But, that's not what this is about. The gentleman earlier mentioned is, are they allowed to get the permit? And I just drove Chilson Road today, going towards Hamburg. It is a beautiful road. It was a large portion of it was just paved and widened. And I thought, oh, this is really nice. And it didn't take away from the aesthetics of the road at all. And so I think, all the pros and cons have been said as to what this will be. When there was misconceptions that it would have, the school and things like that, I could totally understand the opposition. But now that we have clarity and it is true, it should be supported. And it'll be an asset to this area. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I currently only have one caller left. That's Michael Williams. This would be a 3rd time call-in. It's up to the board whether they want to take that.
I think 2 is enough. I tell Michael, I apologize, but I think we've got the point.
With that, I currently have no one waiting to speak.
Mr. Supervisor,
Yes.
do you think we could take a 5-minute break?
If needed, does everybody concur? They need a quick break, bathroom
Yep.
break? Let's,
Thank you.
can you put that up on the screen, a quick break by chance?
Yeah, we'll get that up.
I truly appreciate it. So right now, it is essentially, what, we'll call it 8:55. So 9 o'clock?
Excuse me, Mr. Supervisor, should we be closing call to the public?
It really wasn't, we didn't necessarily open it, but if let's go ahead and do that. If there's a motion to close.
I move to close call to the public.
Low support.
And low supports. Are there any objections? Hearing none, it passes by unanimous support. So when we get back, we'll call it at 9 o'clock. We will proceed on to items A, B, and C. Thank you.
Hey, Luke, it's a 5-minute recess.
Okay.
5 minutes up. I have 9 o'clock. Everybody making it back?
Yeah.
Where's the video? It's right there when you. How you doing?
Matt, Luke, do we have, can you see everybody back?
Looks like everyone is back, yes.
Okay. Everybody back and can hear me?
Yes.
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 Then I am going to read off item number 7. The consideration of a special use application, environmental impact assessment and site plan for a proposed 6,090 square foot church with accessory outdoor uses, including grotto and Stations of the Cross. The property in question is located at 3280 Chilson Road on the west side of Chilson Road, south of Crooked Lake Road. The request is petitioned by the Catholic Healthcare International. Item A is I'm seeking a motion and support is the disposition of special use application.
Supervisor Rogers, if I may chime in, just I apologize, but there was a lot of public comment, and I was wondering if we at Boston Engineering and Catholic Healthcare International will have an opportunity to present and say a couple more words. And I don't know when the appropriate time would be, if it'd be now or.
If you're going to make the comments, because I'm calling for a motion support and to make the vote.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a few points that need to be made. So I'll first start out by saying that a lot of the comments boil down, there was an array, but a lot of them boiled down to traffic, the rural character, and future uses. And, you know, as Jerry had stated in that document that they published and read, that none of those future uses that were once envisioned for the site, they're not being on the site anymore. So I don't know what else we can do. I understand there's a lot of, whether it be pamphlets or articles or something going around, but the statement that Jerry read stands. With respect to some of the other ones like the lighting and the dark sky environment and the traffic study, we meet the township ordinance for lighting and for the traffic study, as was presented in, I believe, the road commission's response, or maybe it was in what the planner is, that the vehicle trips generated do not warrant a traffic study being done. So a few other comments, since we're on traffic, I looked on Livingston County Road Commission's website to see where they had traffic counts done. And sure enough, there is a traffic count done between Latson Road, the intersection of Latson and Chilson, and Crooked Lake Road. So on that stretch of road that this site will be on. The interesting thing is, before the Latson Road interchange was constructed, there are four traffic counts that were performed in 2002, 2006, 2009, and 2012. All of those presented a total daily traffic between 4,500 cars per day and roughly 5,300 cars per day. Once the interchange was constructed, they have a count in 2014, 16, and 19. All of those were between 2,400 cars per day and 2,650 roughly. So there was a significant decrease once that Latson Road interchange was constructed. And it's all public, it's all there available. They have graphs that you can create with different types of data. And really what it boils down to is if you average all 4 years, basically a 10-year span leading up to the Latson Road interchange being built, on average, the span of typically when traffic is going to occur between about 7 and 10, there was roughly 100 to 160 more cars per day, per hour in that 10-year span than there was in the past few traffic studies that they've performed. Additionally, I'm sure all of you are very familiar with Door Road. There was a traffic study done on Door Road. And I know our site is not on it, but it's very similar in nature. Yes, there are a little bit more low density residential communities on Door Road, but that too is a 2-lane road with opportunity for passing. Door Road traffic counts dating back to 2002 all the way through 2019. There were 7 traffic studies, traffic counts done, all of which ranged between 5,200 cars per day and 6,400 cars per day. I have lived in Genoa Township up in 2019 for 19 years, and I've driven to work on both Chilson and Door. And really the only inconvenience I find is more of a personal thing. It's when people drive 40 miles an hour instead of 55. And second, when people turn into the driveways, but it's unavoidable. So I just wanted to point out that the traffic on Chilson Road has seen, well, like I mentioned before, over 5,000 cars for a 10-year period. And now we're down to the latest study, 2019, almost this time of year, down to 2,600. So a chapel with 39 parking spaces, even if it has 1 mass per day, how the road supported it before, and 39 parking spaces per day, even if there's a mass per day and additional uses for stations to cross, it's not going to generate that much traffic. And as essentially, I mean, road commission said you don't need a traffic study with the amount that we're generating. And then the last really big point was the rural character. So I just want to bring up in the master plan, let me find my notes here.
All right.
So in the master plan, it routinely calls, in the executive summary of the master plan, it states that the protection of natural features, that statement is a natural draw for the community. So within this section, it describes preservation when possible, reduce development. How do you do that? You do that with low density. So this development is just that. This is low density. No matter what goes on that, something will happen on that site. It will be developed, and it's only a matter of time. Even if it's 8 5-acre lots, traffic will be generated from that lot beyond what currently does being vacant. So another item I want to talk about is harmonious. That fits in with the idea of what is, it doesn't fit into the rural character of the site, but I think we disagree on our end in using the word harmonious, that it doesn't imply that a site and use has to be identical to what's surrounding it. I think we just go back to what the executive summary of the master plan says. It's about protection of the natural features. And to me, that is a huge point of what rural character is. So, and it is subjective, and you can ask anybody and there will be varying definitions, but I think that is a common point. That element will show up in some form or fashion in anybody's definition of rural character. So the fact that we're saving almost all the trees on this site and utilizing the current open spaces on the site to put the parking lot in the building, it is consistent with that. I also want to point out that there are other uses that are permitted within Country Estate that would, I think, be beneficial to at least briefly mention. And those would be things like, let's see, there's cider mills, publicly owned parks and rec areas, private parks and nature preserves. All of those are permitted uses without special land use in the Country Estate zoning. So I think even if you were to look at that from that lens, that perspective, I think a good example is the Genoa Township Hall. You are on 38 acres plus or minus. You have a 12,000 square foot building plus or minus, over 200 parking spaces. Of course, there's a lot of recreational facilities provided as well. And you know how busy it gets because people want to use those facilities. That's not what we're doing, but that would be permitted, a public park would be permitted in Country Estate. So I think that's important to note that there are other alternatives that are certainly worse than this. And yes, it will generate, extra cars, but anything will. So additionally, talking about whether chapels, churches, that use is incredibly unique. It doesn't fit anywhere, really. It's just maybe less obtrusive in other places. And, you know, it's allowed as special use in the residential zonings of the township. If you took that away, if the reason that is voted no because it simply doesn't fit the rural character, and you take that away, then why it shouldn't be allowed in country state, period. That would take a significant portion of the township out of question, let alone the additional residential areas that allow churches as special uses. In fact, the only areas that do allow it as permitted uses are the public and recreational facilities, general commercial, neighborhood service, and town center. And if you look at the zoning map, aside from a couple PRF zonings south of 96, which are Mount Brighton, Three Fires Elementary, the Township Hall, Brighton State Rec Area, and I believe there's a boat launch on Crooked Lake. Aside from those, that's it. Like, there is none of those permitted uses, no GC, no NS, and no other PRF or town center south of 96, which is a significant portion of the township. So then you look at where are those permitted uses? They're on Grand River. There may be a few exceptions that are kind of scattered about, but primarily the corridor of Grand River is where it's permitted. And obviously Grand River is prime real estate. They want to, you know, churches want to be seen. That's not the vision for this. This chapel wants to be tucked in the trees. It wants to be in nature. That is the point. So I don't know. I think with all that being said, somebody that had called in mentioned it earlier. Do we meet the special use items that are listed in section 3.03.02L of the zoning ordinance? And the township planning consultant's letter would indicate that we do. And of course, there are certain subjective nature to it that you all will be voting on. So I don't envy your position. It's incredibly difficult, especially just listening to all the public comments. So I guess my last plea, if you will, is that this is a 40-acre site that is almost entirely preserved. We're not voting on a potential hospital or a potential medical school or any of that. You know, we're here before you with a chapel and the grotto mural sign and the Stations of the Cross and the walking trails. That's what we're here in front of you presenting. Again, as Jerry mentioned, the overall vision of CHI is to have those other uses, but not on the site. That letter has been made public and would be happy to remain it. So in the meantime, there may be additional communication things that can be remedied and clarified to avoid any additional confusion that exists. But everything that the Planning Commission, when we were before them, put in front of us, we complied with. We went above and beyond with a general operations document, providing, how is the site going to be operation all the way down to, we were even asked, who's going to maintain it from a standpoint of like mowing and things like that. And that is above and beyond what is typically required and asked of. And we feel like we've done nothing but provide that information. And, if people are claiming that there's still vagueness in answers, well, when you look at it, we don't know how long it will take for us to get to 7 masses a week. It may never happen. And that's the honest truth. And, that would be the max that the site can handle, and we realize that, and hopefully it would get to that point, but it may never happen. So we can't definitively say that there will be 7 masses a week in 2 years. It's just so hard to do, to project that way. So I feel like the information we provided in the general operations document went above and beyond what was asked. And with the information provided today about the rural character of the area being preserved with the simple fact that so many acres are being untouched on this property. The discussion that we just mentioned about where churches would be permitted versus, if they're not going to be allowed in special use areas, then why include them? I just feel like there's a lot of information there to certainly digest, and I guess at this point want to turn it up to you if there's any additional questions for follow-up on anything that was just said, by all means. Otherwise, we eagerly await your decision.
Thank you.
I apologize to interrupt here, but I've got James Sprague trying to get a call in here. I don't know if the board wants to hear him or not.
He's the consultant for the other side. I'll give him a couple of minutes.
Okay. James, you can unmute yourself and speak.
Thank you. Thank you again to the board. I don't want to take up a lot of your time here, and I don't need to rehash all of the facts. All I really wanted to go back to is what your ordinance states. Correctly pointed out by the applicant, they do have to meet the standards of 3.0, 3.02, which are the specific conditions for special use for this specific use. Alternately, your zoning ordinance in section 19.03 states that all of the general standards shall be satisfied for the use at the proposed location. So with that, it's not that one or two of the standards would apply, it's how do all of the standards apply? And so I'm just wanting to repeat that I did believe that there were a number of items that were not in compliance. And additionally, if you were to make an approval, that it should be conditioned on a number of items, not to mention no additional shuttling or transportation of patrons to the site, and that all parking shall be contained on the site per the zoning ordinance requirements. And with that, I can yield.
Thank you very much. Back to the board. Item A, disposition of special use application.
I would move approval for denial based on the memo dated March 29th from Kelly Van Marter, pointing out the 4 bullet points listed in the memo.
I'll support it.
So we have motion and support for the special use application as denial, correct?
Correct.
Any discussion?
Correct.
So roll call vote, please.
Did you call for comments?
I did.
Holly, you're muted.
I just realized.
Okay, I called for comments and then I did not hear any, so I called for the roll call.
All right.
Comment?
Well, the overarching thing is they own this property. However long they own it doesn't matter. Whether they own it a week or how they got it, when they got it. It is a permitted use by special use in this zoning district. They generally meet the requirements, and those are pretty well spelled out in the motion for approval, which I didn't get to make. I think it's a mistake to turn this down, and I guess I yield to the vote now.
Okay, so again, the motion and support are for denial of the special use application. Roll call, please.
Ledford,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Mortensen,
No.
Scaleras, no. Rogers,
Yes. Motion carries 5-2. Move on to item B, disposition of the environmental impact assessment 2/16/21.
do we need to do all that since we divide the special use permit?
I would say yes, we're going to do all 3 of them just in case.
Okay.
It's the formality.
Yep.
Then I would move to deny the environmental impact assessment with the items stated again in Kelly Van Marter's memo dated March 29th. 1 through 3. 1 through 3.
There is a motion. Is there support?
I'll support it. Crop. I'll support it.
Support? Sorry, I didn't hear that at first. A little muffled. So we have a motion and support for denial of item B. Roll call, please.
Ledford,
Yes.
Croft,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Mortensen,
No.
Calærs, no, Rogers.
Yes. And last but not least for the item 7 is C. That would be the disposition of the site plan dated 25/21. Seeking a motion.
I'll move denial of the site plan request based on the 3 bullet points listed in the memo from Kelly Van Martyr dated March 29th.
Low moves, second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ledford,
Yes.
Croft,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Mortensen,
No.
Calærs, no, Rogers.
Yes. Motion carries. Let's move on to item number 8. This is the consideration of resolution 210503B, supporting and authorizing the 2021 Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund acquisition grant application for the project entitled Genoa Township Park Expansion for acquisition of land adjacent to the existing township park consisting of approximately 90 acres of property, parcel IDs 7, 11, 14, 300, 018, 006. That would be 4711 14 400 006, 4711 23 100 001. Located along the north and south sides of Crooked Lake Road, southwest of I-96, east of Door Road, and north of Dallas Road. This is kind of a formality. I know we have been, have applied for the grant, but we need to process this one. It's on the agenda.
Low move support.
Support, I'm sorry, who was the first?
Diana?
Low move
Oh.
support.
Mo made the motion.
I'll support,
And you'll support?
yes.
Calærs. So we have a motion and support. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ledford,
Aye.
Croft,
Aye.
Hunt,
Aye.
Lowe,
Aye.
Mortensen,
Aye.
Calærs, aye, Rogers.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 9, this is a consideration of resolution 210503C to endorse the application of Sun Sylvan Glen LLC to continue the operation, maintenance, and administrative responsibilities for the drinking water system at Sylvan Glen Estates. This is a purchaser of Sylvan Glen, and this again is one of those formalities so that they can continue on doing as they have been doing under the new ownership.
Ledford moves approval.
Croft will support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ledford,
Aye.
Croft,
Aye.
Hunt,
Aye.
Lowe,
Aye.
Mortensen,
Aye.
Calærs, aye, Rogers.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 10, this is the request for approval of a preliminary condominium site plan extension for Pine Summit. I think they, and the manager can speak to this, but This was applied for some time ago and obviously COVID hit, so they're just looking to extend that so they can continue to progress, if I'm not mistaken.
I have nothing to add to that, sir.
Okay.
I'm a little curious about, we set up a mechanism where staff could approve them if, just without going either to the planning commission or the board, one or two times after it's expired. I'm just curious why it's here at all and why it didn't go to the planning commission. I mean, I don't have any problem giving the extension, but it's a different protocol than or procedure than we've used.
I believe it has something to do with the fact that it's a condominium and not just a straight site plan.
And this request came out of the planning department, correct?
Yes, Kelly's been in contact with the applicant. Again, and it might have something to do with the Condominium Act limiting us that requires you to take action. But you're right, usually for straight site plans, we can deal with that administratively twice before it has to go back to planning commission.
Well, I don't have any problem approving it. I just, okay, I'll move approval.
Support, Robin.
Okay. We have a motion to support. Any further discussion? Since the clerk is getting so used to roll call, let's just go ahead and do roll call.
This isn't a roll call.
Ledford,
Aye.
Croft,
Aye.
Hunt,
Aye.
O,
Aye.
Mortensen,
Aye.
Scaleros, aye, Rogers.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 11, another exciting one, the request to approve the assessor's affidavit of 2021 millage levy for the township, establishing the millage rate at 0.7855. I think we keep getting lower on our millage rate. But
Ledford moves approval.
Low support.
Who
Or
supported?
Rough support.
Okay. Ledford, motion, low support. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ledford,
Aye.
Croft,
Aye.
Hunt,
Aye.
Lowe,
Aye.
Mortensen,
Aye.
Scaleros, aye, Rogers.
Aye. Motion carries. We're down to item number 12. This is a discussion regarding township board minutes and posting procedures as requested by Township Treasurer Robin Hunt. And I will remind you that we moved item number 2 from the consent agenda regarding the request to approve minutes from March 15, March 29, April 5, and April 19 to item number 12. I will defer to the treasurer at this juncture.
Yeah, I included a memo in the board packet just explaining why I asked for this agenda item. The first thing, I guess, as far as the March 15th minutes go, I know our April 5th meeting never got to happen, but I had sent a memo to the board requesting a motion to correct the minutes. Since that meeting wasn't held, the correction was never made. Since that time, Polly did go on the minutes online and change them. However, the minutes in the packet that we're looking to approve do not have those changes. I know it's once minutes are posted to our website, they are not supposed to be changed until the board directs that change to be made. And I guess that's the very important reason why I'm asking going forward that any minutes that are posted to the township website should be stamped draft. Our zoning board of appeals minutes are done that way, and so are our planning commission, but the township board minutes have never been done that way. That way,
Problem, I'll take care of that.
okay. So as far as a motion by this board tonight, we do need to make a motion to correct the March 15th minutes to show item 4 to include the correction to the clerk and treasurer salaries. And that's to the amended budget for 2021. And then also the correction in item 5, paragraph C that I had given to the board previously. I don't know if you need the wording on that or not.
Did someone else or have some, yeah, I thought so. Diana also?
Yeah, sorry. The March 15th minutes on the 3rd page, where if you go to where Mike Arkinol had something to say, he said that hang on. He said that we need to add the word not, because what he was talking about was not on the agenda. And it says it was on the agenda. Let me get to it.
Oh, not on the agenda?
It was
Okay.
not on the agenda.
Okay, I can
It
correct
was
that.
the CH, yeah. The
Okay.
CHI.
Thank
And then on the April 5th minutes, we need to add a supervisor signature line, because that's not on there.
Okay.
Those are the ones that Denise took. That's all.
As long as we're correcting minutes, there's a very serious area in March 29th minutes. My name is misspelled twice. And I want to spell that.
Oh, wait a second.
Oh, boy.
We missed,
Oh, yeah.
how did we miss Jim? Misspell that.
Twice on here, Jim?
Yes,
I got it. I got it.
on the first page under regular agenda and the second page, last paragraph.
Okay.
You're trying to make me a Swedish boy and I'm a good Danish boy.
Okay.
Ooh.
And I think regarding the signatures too, we've got to get those signed before they get posted on the website as well.
Is that true? Because as a clerk, I would have never signed unapproved minutes.
Well, that's why they're supposed to be being posted as draft.
Draft. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I never have the unsigned, I never have on the minutes that are on the website as signed. They're signed in the original documents I have with here at the office.
I don't believe that's true, but the other thing is we've got to make sure that these minutes get posted on our website. The March 29th special meeting did not get posted until last week.
And Robin, they have been posted within 10 days of every meeting for 36 years.
The March 29th were not.
I know.
Oh, that was the special meeting that we had. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
And all that with modifications, we still need a motion for number 2.
Low moves approval as corrected.
And then we'll all have to check it because we had a lot of different things going on. Is there support?
On support.
We have motion and support. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the motion carries by unanimous support. All righty, let's move on to correspondence.
As you have 2 pieces of correspondence, one has a letter that's written to Justin Leitch. It's concerning the plan to have 100 chickens and 25 turkeys and peacocks on his property, which is less than the 50 animals, just for your information. And then I believe this letter from a resident Mike had on a previous agenda.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So I spoke with the resident, Mountain Mystic, you'll recall several years ago, we talked about doing a special assessment there. It met with quite a bit of disagreement within the subdivision. And speaking to Mr., it's been so long, I can't remember. And when speaking to the person who wrote the letter, I did redact it. The problem, I understand the concept of having a millage. That'd be great if we didn't have to specially assess subdivisions. I think it's a concept worth discussing. Some subdivisions like Mountain Mystic, where you have a huge repair cost and not a lot of houses, it's a tough nut to crack. My difficulty with that is, what do we tell the last person who was in the door that just did an SAD on their sub? Earl Lake, Hughes Road, Elmhurst, and we've had quite a few recently. How do you all of a sudden say now we're going to have a millage rate assessed across the whole township, and yet these people assess themselves? So I don't know. If there's anybody who wants to discuss this or talk about it at a future agenda, I'd be happy to pull some numbers together. There are a few communities who do this. You'll recall we tried for a township-wide millage several years ago, and it not only failed, it failed significantly. It wasn't even close. And that did not even get to the subdivision. So it's a problem. It's a problem with road funding in the state of Michigan. And I'm not sure what the answer is.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm looking at this in the correspondence, and this letter from the state of Michigan, I just love it. Giving this guy or person a GAMP approval.
Oh, yeah.
It says, your plans indicate you will have 100 chickens and less than 25 turkeys and peacocks, which is less than 50 animal units. Now, what the hell is an animal unit?
So, yeah.
The government could come up with that one.
Yeah, that's basically like a cow is a unit and a chicken is a 20th of a unit. Yeah, there's a whole formula.
I get it. But
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Isn't that written in our ordinance?
Those are a GAMP. That comes from ag.
Ag.
Okay.
Department of Agriculture.
Somebody has way too much time on his hand to figure that one out.
No kidding. No kidding.
The other thing I would mention is if you notice Gene's clock, it was like watching 60 Minutes on television where that thing was.
I almost said that, Jim, during the thing. I kept hearing the tick, 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 and I'm going, on 60 Minutes is watching us.
Yeah.
Dean, thank you for doing that for us, though. That really,
it was great.
Really helped.
Actually great.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could hear the tick.
No, we could.
Awesome.
Like
because then I think everybody, we could all hear the tick, and so we knew that.
And I've got a timer on my phone, but I was using that to look at the agenda and the packet. So, no, great. Thank you for doing that.
Okay,
you're welcome. A savior. Yes, completely. Okay, shall we move on to a member discussion?
I have a couple of things, Mr. Supervisor. If anybody's driven on Golf Club Road between Hughes and Hacker, it's in really rough shape. It's typical of what was on Party Westfall Beatty, where we had a crushed limestone installation several years ago. As the road commission grades the road, it breaks up the natural aggregate within it and takes away the structural integrity of this road surface. And you end up with kind of an oatmeal or a slurry, especially with the rain we've had. I didn't have to put it in four-wheel drive, but I probably could have easily in a couple spots if I hadn't gotten off center of the crown. So anyway, I've talked to the road commission. I sent an email to, because it's a boundary road with Osceola Township, I sent an email to maintenance at the road commission and Osceola Township indicating that we would be interested in participating if there's an opportunity to do so. Basically, it's a fairly inexpensive treatment. They go back with natural aggregate, which sweetens the crushed limestone, so it firms up the road so you don't have that slurry that we have out there now. So if you get any calls from any of the residents, we're working on it. Secondarily, if you saw the issue or the item on the WHMI site and on the radio, Senior Survivor, Howell Schools, this is the park project we've been working with them on for the past several months. Something to get very excited about. During a pandemic, they raised $220,000, not 22, not two, It's not a bake sale like they had when I was in school. They raised $220,000. I have a meeting this Thursday with them to discuss plans, concept plans. I think it's going to be something we're all going to be very, very proud of. Universal design to allow kids of all different abilities the ability to get outside and play on this park. So very exciting, and I will keep you posted as we move forward.
Yeah, it was an extremely great article, and those kids did a phenomenal job in this environment.
Amazing.
Yes.
Absolutely. Huge congratulations to all of them that worked so hard
Yes.
on that.
Yeah, that's big time.
Anything else from you folks? Got
So the Osceola Community Center ribbon cutting is on May 7th at 12:30. I believe I sent something to Mike, and hopefully he
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, good.
Yep.
I'll send it again. Has anybody not seen that?
Yeah, I saw something. I couldn't remember the date off the top of my head, but yeah, that's.
I'll send it again. That's a big deal. That's something that's going to have a huge impact on our community in a positive way.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
They'll have the indoor stuff, and we'll have the senior survivor thing, the outdoor stuff.
Hey.
Huh?
Just want to remind everybody that senior like high school senior.
I have to remind myself.
Yeah.
Of that. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't have taken any other way.
I just wanted to point out one thing is that Terry Croft probably missed the meeting, so he's got some other appointment with SEMCOG that he was appointed to another board because he probably wasn't there to even say yay or nay, but we told him he is on another board for SEMCOG.
Thank you, Terry.
Yeah. You
I
gotta
got a
show up
notice
to
on-
those, man.
Man, I was elected. I'm sorry,
He didn't
Robin.
even
I
know he
cut you
voted
off.
for himself, so what can we tell you? But congratulations, thanks for kicking in, even though you, as I said, we probably read it in the paper, and by the way, you got nominated and elected, and we knew before you did.
That's the way it went. Just don't forget them in the parks and stuff.
Say the last part again.
I said, don't forget SEMCOG with the parks and stuff when we're working on that. I'll stay on it.
Also working on a couple of things in regard to admin personnel and how we formulate that. We're going to take a peek at it and see if there's anything that we need to do differently. So just be aware that could be coming down the pike. Just as that's more just informational. Anybody else? Then a motion for adjournment after our 2 4-minute meetings total. We finally got everything in. So a motion for adjournment is in order.
So moved.
Support, Robin.
Got a motion and support. Sounds like, Polly, you could take your pick. Anyways, are there any objections? Hearing none, motion passes by unanimous support. Thank you very much, everyone, for
Good night, everybody.
diligence in
It